Stephen, and welcome to the Championship Review. Yes, I am back after a bit of a brief hiatus for myself after being away for 2 weeks. I think I needed it after wins when your own team is not performing well when after. But listen, we'll talk about Leeds later on in the show. We've got some mouthwater against to talk about the teams at the bottom of the table, including Swansea against Derby County, Plymouth against Norwich City, QPR against Cardiff City, and we'll talk about the Friday's games between Blackburn and Middlesbrough, and also the other games at the top of the table between Sunderland away at West Brom and Burnley away at Coventry City, and Leeds went away down to Kenneth Road to face Luton, alongside with Bristol City at home against Watford, who are challenging for the playoffs. Joining us tonight is the usual suspects. I'd like to say good evening to Annie and Michael, even to you both.
Good evening, mate. How are you doing?
I'm good, and I'd like to thank you for both of you was co-presenting the show last week. Even though we had to make sure we got everything ready, especially you, Michael, was taking over as the whole studio. So
Aye, yeah. Just trust me with the keys to the city. Why not? No, to be fair, no. Thanks for having the patience with me, and I think it was a decent show last week. We and Annie came on, and Annie came on when Bristol City lost, so that was a good sign of character for him.
yeah,
It was very difficult. It was yeah. I had to go up again. I had to go against my laurels for that one.
Fair enough, but no, it was all right last week. But I'm glad you're back hosting this week.
well, listen, I think I need to just end my ban. Actually, it was kind of like the more if I came on last week, you guys, I probably would be really going on a long rant. And I don't know how long for. So it was good. This is why I'm still not watching any of these games at the moment. Well, I did watch highlights of the games yesterday earlier on, but this is why I'm still not watching Leeds live at the moment. It's too
Is
much.
it just playing with your emotions too much at the moment?
It is. Because
Jojo,
we know from this Vincent now we've been through every time, and this has happened on the BS. I will do it. It's the same thing that we have these nerves going towards the end of the season where we just, I don't know, but we'll talk about it later on
do you know
anyway.
what? Right, funny enough, actually, me and a mate of mine, we went out to watch the Manchester Derby, which was a waste of time, really, because it was so boring.
Hey, I would have been better for just painting the kitchen ceiling than watching that game.
I quite well. Actually, on one of the new FIFAs, basically, if you just do a sim match, jump to result, it's a 0-0. So we might as well have just done that instead, and avoid. I like Annie was thinking of that. Yeah, just do that and save 2 hours of your time. But we were actually making the joke on the way back, and I think you'll probably feel like this, Carl. It feels like Leeds for the first 2/3 of the season, or first 3 quarters, play like PSG, and then for the last third, turn into Accrington and Stanley for some bizarre reason.
Yeah, no.
They like to go, do you know what? We're kind of clear at the top. Should we make things interesting and let everyone else back into it? And your Leeds fans are like, can you please not? Can you just go and do the job?
Yeah, one job. That's all you have to do. One fucking job.
Hey, that was me to Liverpool on March the 16th.
I know it was okay, and I know how much you're still annoyed with that because look, you got to let
But
it go a bit at some point because you can't hold the grudge forever.
I mean, I'll forever hold a grudge with that, with the bastard that allowed the takeover to go through in the first place. That's all I'll say with that. But hey, but apart from that, no, I'm not doing too badly. And hey, Annie's going to be happy. Bristol City in the playoffs.
We'll talk about it in a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you just kind of going, I'm still in shock that we took the opportunity for once and didn't do a Bristol City?
Mate, I'm shocked. We're in early April and we're playing for something. I'm normally talking about how I don't know
You're playing for a top half finish.
how Leeds are top of the league and everyone's looking at them, or how I don't know, Wigan are in a relegation battle or Barnsley are going down. It's like that. That's what I'm normally talking about. Not Bristol City is sixth. This is unheard of. So
Mm,
yeah, looking forward to it.
I bet you are.
fair enough. Right, let's get on to the first game. And do you know what? We're going to start at home park, and the bottom of the team, Plymouth Argyle, had a winning 2-1 against Norwich City yesterday. Took both goals from
Big
Ray
win.
Hardy in the first half, and then Josh Side scored just after the second half. Listen, they are closing the gap to championship safety. Michael, listen, that's Argyle's winning the second win in 9 games, which is because they've been on and off, but this is now a blow for Norwich's hopes of making the playoffs now.
Well, it's 8 points off the playoffs now, so it's kind of one where it looks like it's one of those tantalizing things where if you win enough of your last few games, you can make a fight of it, but also it's far enough to think that you're realistically out of it. Look, shout out to the Talk Norwich City lad Chris Reeve, who I speak to on a regular basis. Like, he's a really sound guy, and we were talking because we play each other at Carrow Road on Tuesday. But he was basically saying that, look, it's done. They're not getting in the playoffs, and it's just it's a sensation that a season that had so much promise ends up falling short. Now, to some degree, if you look at Norwich's squad. I mean, Norwich. I've said loads of times, Norwich are going in a completely different direction now, where they're going almost not to make it about Sunderland too much, but like they're on sort of the journey we were 2-3 years ago, where they're in sort of this longer phase plan to try and build up assets. Sell the club, grow the club, be more sustainable, without having to have owners pump everything into the club, as you both know, with financial fair play. Now you can't do that anymore, not as much, and in certain revenues of the club where most people care about, which is on the pitch. But with Norwich, I mean, this is the type of result that did not surprise me all that much, given with Norwich, because you look at Norwich's away form, it's just absolutely in comparison to what their home form was used to be like, and even their home results haven't been particularly great yesterday. But I'm not going to count my chickens too much ahead of Tuesday because they beat West Brom, so we'll wait and see with that one. But with this game, if you're going to flip the perspective for Plymouth, that was pretty essential, because if they hadn't had won this, then, or even God forbid if they'd lost it, then it's a game closer to the inevitable. And while while there's still every chance that they'll go down, it's more likely they'll go down than stay up. It's still a big result for them, because then it keeps the gap to, what was it, 4 points now. When you bear in mind, and it wasn't a bad weekend for them either. Yeah, okay, they could have done without Luton and Stoke and Cardiff getting draws, but none of them won. Hull will obviously probably the big winners down the bottom, really. But Derby lost, who were 21st. So, but again, it all comes down to, can Plymouth. The thing that I don't think Plymouth have been good at building on a result. So it seems to me like when they win, more times than not, they'll revert to type and go back to losing the next week. And if you're looking at result, like say Wednesday night, for example, Swansea at the Liberty Stadium. Yes, Plymouth's away form is absolutely rancid, but you've got to. But there's no point on this Norwich result if you go to Swansea and put in a pathetic display and end up losing. And heck, even Sheffield United at home next Saturday, which I know a certain person who is of a Leeds United persuasion on this show will be really much hoping for a home win at home park. But you look at it though, if Oxford can beat if Oxford can beat Sheffield United, then if Plymouth, the home crowd can, you both know, home crowd can be decent when it gets rocking. When it gets going, it's not the easiest place to go. So, but no, to answer your question, from Norwich's perspective, if you look at the second goal, for example, I think it was the second one that Ryan Hardy scored. It's a classic example of the way Norwich have just played themselves into trouble, and it's just right. We'll play fanciful pass. Oh no, one ball through Hardy, 2-0. It's it's exactly the sort of goal that is infuriating if you're a Norwich fan to give away. Josh Sargent obviously does what Josh Sargent does. We know how good he is at this level, and it's only a matter of time, you think, before he eventually isn't a championship player anymore. And probably the only thing that's kept him in the championship for the last couple of years is injuries, really. Otherwise, he probably would have been in a bigger league. And that's not to say Norwich are like a small club, because they're not. They're a pretty decent size for championship level. But either way, great for Plymouth. We'll see if this means anything. And for Norwich, yeah, I think it's a game you really had to be winning if you want any last hope of the playoffs, realistically.
Yeah, absolutely as well. Let's go to the other games that were the teams in the bottom half of the table. I have to say, we'll go to Hull City, and what a shock win at the late game for Charlie Hughes to score his first goal for Hull City, beating Sheffield Wednesday 1-0. That was the biggest win for them, especially of the gap between the 4 points between them and Cardiff at the moment. And Ruben Sellers has done a decent job since he came in from Reading during most of the season. Can they now galvanize to go on the run, because they had a bit of a last 5 games, they all lost one, drawn two, and won two before yesterday. Can they really go a bit of a run to try to make sure they got enough points between them and 22nd place?
Just to quickly say before Annie goes, look at the fixtures they've got, by the way. They're massive. But yeah, go on.
They've got Luton on Tuesday, haven't they? At home, which
It,
is
it's Watford away, Coventry at home, Swans. This is the big bit. Swansea away, Preston at home, Derby at home, Pompey away.
yeah. I mean, they don't want it to go to Pompey. I'm sure they won't. But they they're a good team. Hull, like they are a good team. They are before. I don't want to make this about us, but when they came here a couple of weeks ago, for the opening 10 minutes, utterly all over us. Like I was like, this team is not in a relegation battle. Um, they're very well organised. You say it's a shock win. I'd say look at Hull's away record. Look at who they've
Mm.
beaten away from home recently: Sunderland, Sheffield United. They've got to draw us. Um, Going to Hillsborough. Hillsborough, Sheffield Wednesday haven't been great there this season. So the goal is unbelievable. It's like the header is superb, and the scenes in the away end, yeah, top class. Um, what I want to talk about though is Danny Roll's post-match press conference, where he kind of said, in a kind of revealing manner, he kind of went, um, "I'm really proud of these players for what they've put up with," in a kind of, when you give a farewell speech and you kind of go, "Oh, thank you for this and thank you for that," in that kind of way. And with what's been going on at Wednesday recently, like again, Chancery's being Chancery, we know what that entails. I thought that was interesting, but yeah, Hull I think are going to be fine. They've got too much quality, and they've got too good of a manager, too good of a squad to go down. I think I'd be astonished, and if they were to go down, it would be because of a high tide. It would be because Derby, Cardiff, Luton, whoever it is, goes on a three, two of them go on a massive run, and Hull are the unfortunate ones to get sucked in. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, absolutely as well. Right, go to the other games. I'm going to choose which one. I'm going to go to Derby County because I want to. Since now they're let's say the Premier League record of 11 points is kind of might be advantage since now Southampton now being relegated from the Premier League. So let's talk about Derby. They lost 1-0 away at Swansea. Michael from Aaron G Sung. Their 4-1 run came to an end as well, and it was a die game at Swansea, but Swansea have been on a good, decent run since. Well, not on a good run, but the last two games they have been performing quite well. Swansea before today, yesterday. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, look from Swansea's point of view, because before this game, Swansea, if I'm right, hang on. So Cardiff were on 40, Swansea. I think were only 5 points above the bottom three before kickoff yesterday. So for Swansea's point of view, it's a considerably important win because it pulls them. I mean, again, look, 7 points. They're not mathematically safe, obviously, yes, but it's a win that would probably edge them that little bit closer to it. I mean, we keep saying about how it looks like it's going to be around the 50-point mark, give or take 1 or 2 points, probably 51, 52 points maybe. So it could bring Swansea closer to that sort of supposed magical points barrier. So from Swansea's point of view, it's a massive win. From Derby's point of view, I think it's one where if you're going away, I mean, it was what was it? There's the last 10, 15 minutes Swansea scored, wasn't it? So
Yeah,
yeah, if you're gonna go away from home, and Derby had a fair few chances, particularly in the first half. They had a decent effort that one of their lads hit the side netting, which they probably you would argue should have. Although it's a tight angle, he'll have wanted to have done better with that shot. If you're Derby, I think I suspect you would want to at least come away with a point, and you would still consider it a good one or a decent one, because then you've at least matched what Cardiff and Luton did earlier in the day, on the same day. So yeah, I mean, look, for Derby, it's not catastrophic because obviously, look, I mean, if it comes down to goal difference, then Derby's goal difference is as good as another point, considering how Cardiff and Luton have got horrendous goal differences. I mean, not as bad as Plymouth's, but like a much worse goal difference by comparison. But in particular, with Oxford winning, with Hull winning, Stoke picking up a point, for Derby, I think they'd be very disappointed to come away with nothing. But for Swansea's point of view, it just edges them a little bit closer towards mid-table and a bit further away from the bottom three.
yeah, and with Derby was probably the best on-form team before yesterday, before the loss.
Yeah.
Out to 6 teams, they were the more consistent team. Picking up
John
wins.
Eustace has still done a great job, by the way. We've got to bear in mind because if you look at that Derby squad, it's pretty much, with the exception of a few players, it's a League One squad in the Championship, really, for me. So if he keeps them up, he's done superbly well, and it shows how good a manager he actually is.
Yeah,
Although
no,
Blackburn fans might not want to hear that,
no, I don't think they want to anyway after
and
what's going on.
especially after what's happened since.
Yeah, no, absolutely as well. Addy, let's turn our attentions to down at Loftus Road. Disappointing draw for Cardiff, to get a 10-0 draw at QPR. they didn't register a target on till shot on target till the 75th minute, and both teams kind of really threatened as yesterday.
I mean, both teams are. Marty Cifuentes was really odd, I thought, in his post-match presser, where he kind of went. It was a kind of attitude of we don't want to be in the relegation battle. It's kind of very, very pragmatic and very sort of defensive sort of mindset, and I thought that was a bit weird, considering, yeah, QPR are factually in the worst run of form in the league at the moment. It is dreadful,
Yeah,
but they've got quality in there. They're still 5 points clear of the relegation zone at the moment, as it stands. Um, they're not a bad team, right? They're not a bad team, Rangers. So I was a bit surprised by that. They've got a massive game uh, against Oxford away from home, which is, if they lose that at the Kassam, yeah, we might be talking about QPR being dragged into it really badly. But I still think they're 45 points, don't they? 46 even? 45, 46? I think they'll be
46
fine.
points QPR.
46 points. Yeah, I think they'll be. I think they'll be okay. 46 points. What you'll need another 3, 4 maximum. I think they'll get that, and they'll win another game from now until the end of the season, surely. So I was a bit surprised by that. Cifuentes. I know we talk about him and Danny Roll quite a bit as the two kind of managers who carried out the great escapes for their respective clubs last season.
yeah.
Maybe Danny Roll's stock is a lot higher than Marty Cifuentes' at the moment because yeah, I felt like QPR had a bit of an underwhelming campaign. Don't know about you guys.
Yeah, they have to have that underwhelming campaign they've had, and Danny Rowe, we'll see what happens. And Southampton do take him on. It's a question of when and not if, because it's not surprising that start's not going to go well. I think Danny Rowe's going to have a big. If he does go to Southampton, he's going to have a big summer of rebuilding that squad completely, and those some players will go. So, you know,
Rebuilding confidence for their players as well.
yeah, and because of the gulf now between the Championship clubs and Premier League, it's not surprising how why Southampton been put on. And like I said, Southampton, when you spent 25-30 million pounds on Ramsdale, you could have spent it better in other areas than. So it's a question of what he comes to the club, what the pulse is going to be towards the sort of that rebuilding the conference and the squad at St Mary's in the summer. Next thing we could go on to is down to Deepdale, and Stoke got a late equaliser from Lewis Baker's penalty to give them a 1-1 draw at Preston off end. Kaiser Hayden scored in the 10th minute after a deflection tap in. Stoke had a couple of chances in the first half, but finally they got it up to get the equaliser towards the end of the game. That moves them 2 points ahead of Derby. Uh, I don't know who want to come to this, but it's a Stoke. I'm not saying they're hitting the right form because they have been on a bit of a patchy form with 2 wins and 2 losses. But where do you think Stoke is going to finish towards? Because it's not a bad team. I know what's going on with them having a poor start after sacking the manager. Matt Roberts come in after coming in to try to stabilize everything after he lost his job. Can Stoke stay up this season?
Yes, absolutely, they can stay up. The question is, will they? That's the big one conundrum. I think, to be fair, if you're looking at yesterday's game, I mean, even just going by the match stats, but even when I watched the EFL highlights, if you look at some of the chances Stoke missed, I'd be more worried if they weren't doing anything of the sort. And you can certainly accuse Stoke at times in the season of looking extremely toothless. Like, if you look, for example, and I know that obviously at the time Leeds were absolutely flying, and there's a big gulf in class between Stoke and Leeds. But I watched Stoke versus Leeds on Boxing Day, and it was just so evident how toothless they were. Now, granted, that was under their previous head coach and who they since got rid of, but that's another thing for Stoke. They've had 3 head coaches in a season. They've had Schumacher. They've had what's the guy's name who was at Norwich goalkeeping coach?
Palach.
Palach, that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
terrible names. And then they've obviously got Mark Robbins, who, on paper, for the Championship, is a decent appointment. The question is, it's like, for example, Alex Neil is a decent Championship manager. Steven Schumacher should be a decent championship manager. Exactly. That's why Annie's laughing, because you're going through all of the names that have gone there, and you think, well, at some point you've got, is it the Quartes family still there? No, is
Yeah,
it
the
the Coates
Coates
family?
family. Yeah,
Sorry,
the
Coates
Coates
family.
family is still there.
Yeah, pronunciations is not my strong
Do you
point.
know why I say Quartes? Because you think about the Uruguayan player Sebastian Quartes.
He used to play for us, funnily enough.
Yeah, no, he did. I
Yeah, there
forgot.
was a time when we had him on loan when he was absolutely terrible, and then suddenly he turned mint for the last for a relegation battle running. So either way, look, but if you look at it that way, do I think Stoke will stay up? Yes. I think Mark Robbins will be just about good enough to get them over the line, but I feel like I'm talking about deja vu. I don't know what Annie thinks, but I think we're talking about deja vu time and time again with Stoke, because at some point, something's got to change at the club for them to stop being in relegation battles, because it's the same cycle every bloody season for them. They start off slowly, then they don't do very well, and then there's worries about going down, that there's being toothless, blah, blah, blah. Sack a manager, new one comes in, immediate upturn in form for a little bit, then they peter out towards the end of the season, but do enough to stay clear. Then the next season starts to start poorly all over again, and it's lather, rinse, repeat repeatedly. So there needs to be a real sit down with the hierarchy at Stoke. Is it Jonathan Walters? Is Jonathan Walters their director of
Yeah,
football?
still, yeah.
I thought he was. I knew it was someone who used to play for Stoke, but I thought it was Jonathan Walters. At some point, there's got to be a clear plan and vision for what they want to do. And even if it's going to take 3, 4, 5 years, at least if you then have some, I think fans could not accept this, but tolerate it more if this was happening. But there's a structure and an identity and a plan and what they're going to do going forward, rather than just plodding along every season. I don't know what you think, Andy, but that's how it comes across to me. They're just plodding along each season. Quickly on the game, though, when you look at the stats, they did deserve something out of the game. But, like we've talked about, Luton can't really go down with the team they've got. And I would say with Stoke, it would be almost disastrous to go into League One. But I don't think they'll go down.
I think with Stoke, I thought Schumacher was going to be the one that was going to take the reins and really go the next step with Stoke, which is probably the top half at this point. But they just keep. I was so surprised when they sacked Schumacher.
So were Stoke fans, to be fair. A lot of them were saying it was the wrong call.
Mm.
They hired Narcis Pelach, and we thought, okay, weird, but surely they have a plan, because that was, you don't sack Steven Schumacher, a League One title winning manager.
No.
Sorry, 100 points League One title winning manager, putting Plymouth in mid table before leaving them to go to Stoke, spending money on Schumacher. You don't sack him for Pelach without a plan and longevity and backing. None of that. Straight out the door. And then now they've gone completely different, slightly different route in Mark Robbins. So we don't know what Stoke are going to do.
No.
For all we know, Charlie Adam could be their manager this time next season, and I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest.
Well, do you know?
I might put my application in to be Stoke manager. I would probably get the job. It's just like
Daniel Farker, Stoke manager next season. Just putting it out there.
but they need a plan, and John Walters is, he's burned himself multiple times this season with the signings. Transfer windows have been pretty border on disastrous, and he's got multiple managerial appointments wrong, and it's just been a mess this season again. Not for the first time for Stoke, so they need to find a plan quickly, because there's so much potential there. I mean, there is a lot of potential at Stoke, but that needs to be unlocked. If for Stoke, sorry, last thing, if Stoke are to stay up, it will all depend on their next 3 games. They've got Luton at home this midweek, I believe. They go to Cardiff, which is ginormous, and then they play Sheffield Wednesday at home. Sheffield Wednesday are kind of mid-table. They're better away from home Wednesday, which is weird, but can you leverage Bet365? Because after that, you go to Leeds. Ouch. And then you play.
Listen, I might be going to the game, so I need to purchase a ticket at some point if Leeds don't kill me by that time.
Do you know what?
So,
That's not what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to go, well, I'm about to go to the game, so announce a Stoke City win.
no.
And then after that, they play Sheffield United at home. And then, if there's still something on it for Stoke, Derby away on the final day. So this is I think all will rest on their first three, these next three games for Stoke. They have been getting better at home though, which is a good thing. The three unbeaten at home, 7 points in three at the best 365. So that's a platform. That's a platform at least.
Yeah, it is. I'm gonna ask you both questions and give you a brief and keep it brief as well. Should Stoke do what Birmingham City do? Just start everything again, like they do what Birmingham's, and look at what Birmingham is right now, and they kill League One completely since they pissed up that one quick easy. So
So you're asking, should Stoke City get relegated, then spend £15 million on a striker that's too good for League One?
well,
No, I know what you meant.
I know
I
I'm
just felt like
not
being
the
funny. I know
striker,
what you meant.
but spending
I get the no, I get the point you're making because Birmingham could argue it's kind of reinvigorated them, hasn't it? So
yeah,
it's. I don't think the fans would want to hear. Here's the way I look at it. It could be a good thing if Stoke went down, but they have to come straight back up because, and again, to not make it much about Sunderland, but it's relevant. Ipswich, Derby, Sheffield Wednesday. If you're in League One for one season and you win enough games and you come straight back up, it could be the best thing that happened to you in the longer term. If you go down and you get stuck down there, excuse my language, it's a fucking shithole of a league.
yeah.
It is absolutely turgid. It is awful. So I get the point you're making. It could end up. It could be good for them, but I mean you've got to look at it financially. Can they afford to go into League One? That's the
Yeah,
big problem. You
I was
know.
gonna say, like,
Yeah.
just look at some of the wages that some of those players are on. By the way, just once those financial thingy-mabobs get
Yeah, but
released, it's
also
just
notice,
ridiculous.
but also the Courts family is owns Bet Free. The owners of Bet365. I don't think they would have to worry about it financially.
No, but what we mean is that a club like a club like Stoke, for example, is not sustainable in the third tier. That's
No,
the whole
okay,
point. But I
yeah,
take your point. For if they go down and then happen to come straight back up, I get your point though. It could be something that reinvigorates them because I can imagine for Stoke, supporting them is probably nearly depressing at this point because you're basically just plodding along to like what was it? What's the joke that they end up having like 16th place finishes every single season?
16th to 7th, no, 17th to 14th, I
By
think
the
is
way,
the.
just to point out, we took 16th place off them last year, so they can have it back now, as far as I'm concerned. But
I
you
think
look
this
at
is
it,
for you a big anti Herbert.
that's one who was fair enough.
To be
Do
critical.
you know what? Right? Yeah, I mean, it could. I mean, it could be a good thing. It depends. I'm just trying to look because I know they've 3.5 year deal, right? So they've given Mark Robbins a contract till the summer of 2028, I believe.
Yeah,
So, but again, did they give Steven Schumacher a long contract? So I think it all depends. There needs to be a clear emphasis on direction and stick with it. Because if you look at what Schumacher, then Pelic, then Robbins, you're basically jumping between different philosophies and styles there, aren't you? So that's the big thing. And clubs that tend to have three head coaches in a season don't tend to do that well. And
no,
Birmingham's a good example of it last season. Heck, you could even say Sunderland had it, where we had Tony Mowbray, then you had Michael Beale, then Mike Dodds, and we finished 16th. So it's, yeah, I don't know what Annie thinks on it, but look, I get what Annie means. I mean, if you look at the wages that some of those players will be on, like compared to even say the second biggest wage bill in League One, it's still probably going to be a bit of a good jump in terms of finances. But I don't know. What do you think, Carl? Do you think it could? Do you think? I mean, I guess it could be. Do you think it would be?
I do. I would agree. Actually, I could. Yeah, it's just like you just said about the fact that it's more the wages, the players that they're on. I know they've been trying to stream like that probably since the last 5 6 years because
Yeah.
they know it's been an issue, and they're trying to. But at least I know we're giving Matt Robbins a longer contract till 2028, and like we did with Schumacher, and that didn't work out. So I just think they have to be if them the Coates family, John Walters and Robbins all work together and seek to make sure they have a plan of if with regard to which league they're in, they have to make
Yeah.
sure it cannot happen again. We finish it down in the bottom half of the table every season in the championship after they came back in 2018.
Well, exactly, because they've not what even been in the like I said before, they've not even been in the top half since they've come up. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you're looking at it that way, I mean, to be fair, FFP is not as prominent in the league because when we talk about the finances, actually something I forgot to mention to counter that. You could argue FFP is not as big in League One. I don't think
No, it's
so.
not now.
So it
No,
could
no. It
that
used to
could
be.
pretend, yeah, that could be the opportunity to maybe have a bit of a rebuild and have a sort of a bit of a better identity. But quickly on the. But to be fair though, for them, if we're going to talk about the current football, at the very least, going 1-0 down, and I swear Mark Robbins, apparently there was the AFL show mentioned Mark Robbins' record at Deepdale's awful. So
Yeah,
he must think, can I just settle for a point every time and just never go to Deepdale ever again?
yeah.
So to be fair to him, they went 1-0 down, they created enough, deserved something out of the game, they had more shots on target, so yeah, look, I mean, and he's right. I think on the next few games, I think it rests on a lot of them for Stoke, but I think, if you're asking me right now, I think Stoke will be fine.
Okay, right, there you go. Thank you for both of that. For briefly talking about Stoke, I think especially with their situation. So
It's
let's
Stoke. We can't be brief with them, unfortunately.
no, we don't.
you
Anyway,
know,
that's a fair point.
you know.
Okay, let's go down to the den. A good win for Millwall in the late, in when the 2-1 gets Portsmouth. Portsmouth are still 4 points ahead of the relegation battle. Annie, a good win for Millwall. Even though they've still points, couple, well, 6 points behind, 6 points behind yourselves in six, but this could be a good end to the season for them to finish in the top half of the season.
Yeah, Alex Neil normally tends to kind of do these sort of weird streaky runs and move teams up the league. They're as I said, very streaky. Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, draw, or loss. It's been streaky.
That's Lee Johnson, isn't it?
Yeah,
Streaky Lee, yeah,
Yeah,
good.
streaky
Uh,
Alex.
yeah, but they're getting better, and this was for all accounts and purposes not an easy game. Pompey are fighting, Pompey are scrapping. Just can't find a way out of it, Pompey, for some reason, despite looking pretty good. Um, yeah, it's a good win. Ivanovic scored. He scored twice. He scored twice. Yeah, he looks like a really promising player. Him, I think him. If next season, if he's scores 15 more, he's going to be a real sort of asset for them. Maybe real sort of big money sale, possibly for Millwall. So yeah, Alex Neil's got them moving in the right direction. They're just transitioning slowly to a slightly more appeasing style of football, but yeah, I think it's just about and having a good end of the season. Look, 6 points. I think it's not about the 6 points. I think it's about the traffic in front of them. They've got where are they now? Eighth? No, not eighth. Ninth.
ninth.
Ninth. They've got West Brom in front of them. They've got Coventry in front of them. They've got us. They've got Middlesbrough. And if you look at the goal differences, they're on -2. West Brom 12 +12. Coventry +4. City +8. And Borough +12 as well. So I think it's been very difficult for them. I think they'll have a good end to the season. They've got some. Their fixtures are not easy either. Uh, I think it's just about having a nice end to the season.
Yeah, absolutely. A nice end to the season as well. Michael, for Portsmouth, very much it was they've after winning against Leeds, they've lost 2 games on the bounce before they won. The last game before they lost yesterday. It, it Portsmouth are looking over their shoulders now as well because of especially you got the teams from. Because I wouldn't say from Preston. I think from Preston, yeah, from Preston from 14th all the way down to 21st at the moment, to 20 down to to where Luton and Plymouth are. And they're looking over the shoulders carefully, slowly, because they thought that win against Leeds would have given a massive boost, but it's been a bit of a 2 steps back.
Yeah. I mean, this was probably always Portsmouth weren't really going to do much more this season than be maybe down the bottom third of the table. But I still feel like, I mean, again, I would say Fratton Park will be a fortress, but obviously they beat Leeds, then did the most championship-y thing ever, and then lost to Plymouth a few days later. So that's just, if any results sum up the Sky Bet Championship in a nutshell, that's pretty much it. Where and we always used to say anyone can beat anyone. Again, I think Portsmouth will show enough. I think okay, maybe they haven't been great, but I think they've shown enough for me in terms of their general performances across the season to say that they will be all right. I think again, if you look at, I mean, look, Coventry away on Wednesday, that's very tricky. Fair enough. But you're looking at the big one for me for Pompey in the next week or so is Derby at home next Saturday. And I think that's the one where if Pompey win that, then I think they will be not mathematically safe, obviously, but that would be a big step towards it because then you've beaten a relegation rival. And remember, it's at Fratton Park as well, which, despite the weird Plymouth result, Fratton Park's been difficult for a lot of teams this season. As you look at it, as Carl might want to cover his ears for the next 10 seconds, but none of the top three above, like say, Sunderland won at Fratton Park. That's how difficult it is for a lot of visiting teams to go. And and then even then, but if you want to look at it another way, after Derby, then they've got to go and they've got Norwich, Carroll Road, Watford home, and then Sheffield away before Hull at home. Norwich, Watford, and Sheffield Wednesday. By the point that they play them, are they going to be playing for anything apart from pride? Now I know obviously professional footballers should of course want to play for pride, play for the badge, and play for your own careers, but teams that have got something to cling on to and to fight for will probably have that extra 5% in their bellies, extra fire in their bellies rather. So I think Portsmouth again will be all right. I wouldn't be surprised actually if you see them say draw at home to Derby, but then win against Norwich and Sheffield Wednesday away. And bear in mind, Sheffield Wednesday, that place could be toxic given what Chansiri's done and given how that they're not paying the staff,
Yeah.
playing staff, and also that Danny Wool could be confirmed to join another club by then. We don't know. So look, obviously they've got to look over. Of course, they're looking over their shoulders. They're only 4 points above the drop zone, and yeah, it's obviously so congested and tight down that end of the table. But no, I think, like I said with Stoke, but I'm more confident with Pompey. I think Pompey will do enough. I think they'll be fine.
All right. Right. Well, we're gonna leave the Sheffield United game at Oxford United later on because we're talk about the top teams in a bit. But let's look at the teams that are really fighting for the playoffs at the moment. Middlesbrough, what a win! Giving a massive boost against an out of form Blackburn Rovers, winning 2-0. That moves up to fifth in the table. And Addy, Middlesbrough hitting the right time. Blackburn been out of form since after John Eustace left, and just we thought Blackburn could have held it, and we thought they could get towards the end, but they've dropped massively. They've had really lost 5 games on drawn 6 the last 6 games.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very hard for Blackburn to get back into a top 6 race now. They're 8 points now. The difference between them and 6th and 5th. So I think we can eliminate Blackburn from the race, especially with the trend.
I think so.
So I think it's been really difficult, which is a shame because they had a really, really good start. Well, they had a really good foundation until John Eustace did left them, which is not coincidental. I put it that way. Sorry, is it coincidental? It's not a coincidence. It's a consequence of why of Eustace leaving them. Um, Middlesbrough. Uh, the mind boggles, right? Because after they lost to us on when was it? The 21st of December, not December, 21st of February. I can't speak. We were going right. That's Borough done. They look completely shot confidence. They crumble. They're flaky, and then they won back-to-back games. And then we kind of went Stoke and Derby needs a bit more. And then they lost to Swansea, and then everyone's going, they're back. And then they beat QPR, but it was a bit unconvincing. It was a bit. And then they got absolutely battered at Luton, but somehow managed to get a
Mark
0-0.
Travers got them a point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mark Travers got them a point, and then they were again somewhat fortunate against Oxford in the first half, where Oxford had chances, and Mark Travers again had to pull off a couple of good saves. But Blackburn, that game was probably the most convincing of the lot. They were really good, and they showed some good qualities. And Tommy Conway or Tommy Burkamp with a ridiculous goal, nice touch and nice finish, and then once it goes 2-0, it's so hard for Blackburn to get back into it. And now Middlesbrough 5th. It's just so stupid, this league. And To be fair, the fixtures coming up for Borough don't look utterly daunting. Like, okay, Leeds at home, not nice. Millwall away, will be interesting to see what that's like. Plymouth at home, that should be if you're looking to finish fifth or sixth, that should be your second is 3 points. Sheffield Wednesday away again. Hillsborough's not been a happy hunting ground for Wednesday this season. Norwich at home, that surely Norwich don't have anything to play for by that point. But then Coventry away could genuinely be ginormous. And if both teams have got a playoff position to play for by that point, yeah, the mother of all playoff games. And I'm going to be sitting here hoping for a draw or something. But yeah, they're just so weird, Middlesbrough. I have no idea what to think of them. Like, we know they have quality. We know they have, attacking wise, they're stupendous. They're brilliant. Azaz, Whitaker, Conway, uh, Marcus Force, Ealing Junior, Bergsorg. There's more. Hayden Hackney, Aidan Morris in midfield. They've got a really good team. Hasn't clicked. I'd still say for the points return, they're underperforming because at the moment they're projecting 69 points, which not good enough for that squad. But they're fifth. They're finding a way somehow, and they've turned it around, which is credit to Michael Carrick and credit to that Borough team. Um, I don't know how seriously I should take them for a top six place. I've no clue. We'll find out when they play Leeds. I think that'll be the litmus test for Middlesbrough in terms of where they actually are in terms of a fight for fifth and sixth.
Do you think it's a case where they're sorry, Carl? Go on.
No, you go ahead. I
No,
was.
go. Do you think for Middlesbrough it's a case that those fixtures have fallen quite kindly for them? Because even after Leeds, right, like the fixtures you've just mentioned, Danny, Plymouth, what was it? Plymouth at home. I think in the games they've got there, they've got like I say, Plymouth at home, Norwich at home,
Yeah,
Sheffield Wednesday away. Obviously, Coventry away and Leeds at home aren't ideal. And there's one more fixture in there. I'm trying to remember who.
Millwall away, I think.
Yeah, that's not straightforward, is it? I don't know. I get the impression with Borough, like I've said before, I think I agree with Andy that I think going forward, Middlesbrough have a lot of quality. I'd even put people might laugh at this, but I'd even put Nacho in there for championship level. He should be a really good. I'm not saying he's the exact same player as Emmanuel Latinlaf because he obviously isn't, but he's
No.
someone who should be competent enough to do it. And maybe you might just need a run of games for Middlesbrough, and then you might start to see the better aspects of his technical ability or the aspects of him as a player. But
We're running out of games, Michael.
no, yeah, very true. Well, yeah, true. Well, it depends. It could be another 9 games for Borough. You never know. But put it this way: I get the impression that Borough are going to be in the playoffs. I think it has to be all but done before they go to Coventry. Because if they go to Coventry needing to get a result and Coventry need to get in the playoffs, I would not back Borough to get anything at Coventry, if I'm honest. And I just and the reason is again, I just don't think they're good enough defensively. If you look at the goals they've conceded compared to a lot of teams. It's no coincidence Borough are the top scorers, and it's the attack that's keeping them in the conversation at the moment.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, they kept a clean sheet on Friday night against Blackburn. But you've got to context that with Blackburn is a toxic place at the moment, and I think that scoring, what was it, within the first minute or first 2 minutes,
First two
or
minutes.
twice in the first 10 minutes, really did help Middlesbrough along.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like Andy said, this is a weird division because if you looked at it, I'm sure Middlesbrough at one point were like 6-7 points off the playoffs at one stage, and now all of a sudden they're in it. But again, to counter that, 3 points separate fifth to eighth. So, and while Millwall obviously are 6 points off, I think it's really going to be two from Middlesbrough, Bristol City, Coventry, and West Brom to do it. What will help Middlesbrough mind? What could help them is, and Andy's not going to like me for saying this, West Brom have to play both Bristol City and Coventry. So straight away, that's where if Borough. So that's where if you're Borough, if you say you lose to Leeds, which personally I think they will, but even on Leeds' form, I just see Leeds turning up for this game for some reason, which I know Carl will be hoping for. But if you look at it, Bristol City, West Brom, say that ends a draw, which I imagine would be a better result for Bristol City than West Brom if out of the two of them, since Bristol City are a few points ahead in the league. But and you can tell me if I'm talking horseshit there. Coventry, Portsmouth at home. That's a game you'd expect Pompey to win. But again, Coventry to win. But again, it's the Championship. So you just don't know, do you? With Middlesbrough, I get what Annie means. I don't know how much to take from this. I think even their fans would say the last 2 games have been against Oxford and Blackburn. But fair play, you've got to beat what's in front of you. The same way they had Swansea to play and didn't win. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, for Blackburn, I mean, they're just going on a right downward slide, aren't they? And I think for them, they probably can't wait for the season to end at this point. So, but yeah, fair play to Borough. Got themselves in a good position. We'll see if they can stay there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, briefly, guys, I want to actually a point about what's going on about this being toxic. I know earlier this week the Venkies did do an interview with the BBC, the local state radio Lancashire, and they talked about the 50-year association. They still want to support club despite various fans of their frustration or waiting. There were talked about John News's what did say no to the six signings. I was looking at it. Only one player since Adam Wharton left has only signed an extension contract. Only extension contract. Only one player. So it just, and they also did say they were a bit iffy. We were talking about, you know, about is this going to be a huge summer for Blackburn? If there's going to be some, I don't know, a potential takeover to get the Venkies out who have been running the club since 2010, it's just not been what do they even look at getting new ownership, or do you think they're just going to hold on to the club and it's going to the relationship with the fans has already been dead for a long time?
I think they we all know they need new ownership, but it probably won't happen because I mean, look, I think there was suggestions that Blackburn fans were advising. Was it Rudy Gestede, who I think is among their board, the
Yeah,
sporting director,
yeah,
the Venkies or representatives of the Venkies? They were saying to stay away from Ewood Park because it's a really hostile place at the moment, and they still went to games anyway, I believe. So there's a clear disconnect there, but it's exactly the same with Cardiff with Vincent Tan, Sheffield Wednesday with Defon Chansiri. It's you know it makes you wonder how any of these chancers got into football, how they passed this supposed proper fit and owners test, or if indeed there was one when they all took charge of their respective clubs. But yeah, we know that Blackburn need new ownership because if you look at it from an objective standpoint, Blackburn and Sheffield Wednesday in particular, and you could argue Cardiff to a degree, are clubs that, in the scheme of things, should probably be challenging for at least a playoff place in the Championship. That there's potential of all of them to try and get back into the Premier League, but the way it's going at the minute with their owners, it just doesn't seem likely. And I don't know what you both think, but I think it also highlights how bloody good a manager John Eustace is when you consider that he had next to nothing. Obviously, had to lose Sammy Smodics when that sale was made. A lot of people would have tipped Blackburn for relegation at that point, and not only that, he's managed to get them. He's managed to help them get to enough points to the point where they look like they're not going to be in a relegation battle. But I'll tell you something: if the Venkies are still there next season, and if this downward spiral continues next season, I really worry for Blackburn next year.
I
The way this is all going on, I'd be very fearful of them if they don't get their crap together.
Yeah, I do agree. And the thing is, they got huge, and the Venkers got a huge protracted court case in India that's being filed back from the Ministry of Finance over there. And the court there have pushed back the hearing against Venky's parent company 6 times since the start of last year. And, in the meantime, that's going to be a question. But they said that, the case against it's not impacting the funding, but Annie, could it really impact their funding?
I mean, I've no idea, to be honest. I don't know the details of the situation, but I think we can all agree that situation's gone really sour, really, really badly. Um, I mean, it's crazy because when a manager who's doing really well, um, leaves you to go to a side in the same division as you, but who are about 15 places lower than you in the midst of relegation battle, deep in it, that says more about that club that he's just left than he does about him. Um, and obviously we know things have not smelt right for a while, but that just really like confirmed it. Like E- Eustace doesn't leave Blackburn if Blackburn are a functioning club, for Derby this season anyway. But he hasn't. Then they're not, so that's what I did. Um, yeah, I agree with the fact that John Eustace is an unbelievable manager who had them really, kind of top overperforming. Um, Got to remember, most people at the start of the season had Blackburn sort of in a relegation battle, and I think I had them going down as well. So
And that especially would have happened, and especially people would have thought that when they lost Smodics as well.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
they've done really well actually to be in this position. But now that things are mi-
Unraveling.
averaging out horrifically badly, like really quickly, and they've fallen so far out of the playoff picture, it's crazy. Um, then the questions are seriously now going to be asked of the Yankees. And now this summer, yeah, I think it's such a big summer for Blackburn Rovers. This football club, such a big one in terms of what Valerian Ishmael does, in terms of how that squad looks, in terms of the ownership situation. Uh, it's such a big summer for Blackburn.
yeah, it is going to be a huge summer for Blackburn indeed. Do you know what? As we get into the last few fixtures, we're going to discuss our teams shortly. But what a shock of the day yesterday! Oxford United winning against Sheffield United, beat 1-0. Siyuki Dembele's first half strike separated the two teams, who Oxford put a very excellent first half display, Michael, and they are 4 points both the drop zone with 6 games left to play. And, and like I said, that ends the Blades' best run of form on the road in 132 years of six straight away wins before yesterday.
Yeah, was yeah, because that was their first away defeat since New Year's Day at Sunderland, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So in the league, no, yeah, no, it would have been in all competitions because they lost at home to Cardiff in the cup. Um, yeah, I mean, first and foremost, we've got to credit Oxford. That is an outstanding result and probably result of the season for them. If you look at the amount of effort that they would have had to have put in for that game, they'd looked knackered and on their feet by the time the full time whistle went, and you could tell just from the Oxford fans just how much that result meant to them, not because Sheffield United is a rival or anything like that in terms of domestics, but like in terms of how big that could be. And again, the key word, confidence. How much confidence that result should build is ridiculous. But again, I think they've got is it QPR in midweek at home. So typical, they'll do what a Portsmouth did, where they beat a team near the top and then they'll lose to a team they feel they should be beaten at home. So announce Oxford nil QPR 2 or something strange like that. But no, you got to credit Oxford for this. And to be fair to them, they had to have to withstand some serious pressure, particularly in the second half from Sheffield United, which of course was going to happen. Sheffield United have got the team that they have near the top of the league going for automatic promotion, and Oxford obviously with the team fighting to stay up. But no, fair play. And Siriki Dembele obviously kept his cool in a critical moment to give the U's the lead. While my phone's going off and buzzing everywhere. Spare me a minute. There we go. Yeah, and I mean, it's massive. That result. To be honest, part of me, take out my thoughts on Sheffield United and Chris Wilder, right? I had a gut feeling about Oxford for some reason, and I don't know why. You know, when you look at a game, you get a gut feeling that a result's going to go a certain way, and I had a feeling Oxford might win 1-0, just because it's a typical Gary Rowett, backs to the wall, Brazilians at home, front of the Kassam. I think it's one of them, isn't it? And to be fair, quickly to Sheffield United, I don't think this result will probably damage them too much. It depends how they react to it, but Sheffield United have been winning a lot of games all season, as we know, so I think they'll probably end up responding to that. I mean, they've got Millwall at home on Tuesday at night, and I'd be very, very astonished, as Carl won't want to have this happen. I'd be very surprised if Sheffield United didn't come out of that with all 3 points at Bramall Lane as well. But no, the narrative, the story of the day is from Oxford's point of view. And Chris Wilder, to be fair to him, I don't really like the guy, as you know, but he was honest after the game. He said they didn't do enough. And you've got to credit Oxford for that. You've got to credit Oxford. And I think I get the impression it'll be a very well earned holiday if Oxford stay in the Championship, put it that way. And Gary Rowett, like we said before, at the time, sacking Des Buckingham looked very harsh. If you take the emotional side out of it, if Gary Rowett keeps them in the Championship, which I think he's going to, then it's absolutely proven to be the right decision.
yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I would have done this at the intro at the start, but as I said, I wasn't going to do this. But Oxford United, I do absolutely love you. I really do for getting that result. And I know it was Michael's suggestion to start off with that intro, but I didn't do it. I thought I left it till later in the show. So I appreciate that, Oxford fans. I didn't. I don't know why I didn't think about you. I have a good feeling Oxford could do so against Sheffield United. I thought this was going to be a foregone conclusion, but as soon as after 80 minutes for, I slowly was starting to think, shit, this could be happening if I don't score by the end of the
I
game.
love how it took you till 80 minutes to believe that. Like it was like 80 minutes. You bet you when Oxford score, you go, nah, Sheffield United will still win. Oh wait,
That's what it was. Yeah,
wait, it's half time. Oxford's still winning. Yeah, they'll still turn it round. Wait, an hour's gone. They're still winning. No, don't give us hope. 70 minutes. Let's do it. Wait, what? How have they not scored yet? 75 minutes. Do I dare to get hopeful? 80 minutes. Oh my god, they might actually do this. Full time. Oxford, I fucking love you.
Yeah.
I suppose Daniel Farker could consider himself quite a lucky man at the moment.
Well, as I said, I might come onto. I don't know which game the last couple of games I'm going to do. I'm going to do Annie's. Actually, I think if Annie will go at some point, I might well get yours out of the way, Annie. But a huge win for you guys against Watford, winning 2-1. Was it was it a bit of a squeaky bum time now that despite when Watford pulled a goal back, did you had the nerves in the last 10 minutes, and you've ended Watford's hopes in the top six finish now. So
I think I know what your answer to that question is going to be. Yeah.
I genuinely, I don't want to swear. I was, yeah, I
just say
was,
I've,
it.
I've already sworn anyway. I've
Get it
already
out.
ruined
I
it.
was,
Go on.
I was, I was bricking it for the last 10 minutes. 75 minutes of no, 70 minutes of that game was controlled by City. Like just genuinely, just completely nullified Watford, and didn't allow them barely anything. Uh, and then this is what good teams do, right? They'll have one moment and they'll score, and then the momentum's gone. However, there was I think their goal woke us up, and that's it's weird to say. I think
No, I know what you mean.
after they scored, they didn't look like scoring. We looked so much better on the transition. We looked really good on the counter attack, and probably should have scored once or twice if we were a little bit more clinical. Um, there was one moment at 2-1 actually, with about 5 minutes to go, where it was a Watford corner or a throw in or a long throw in. Anyway, the ball's in our box. It gets cleared out. It's a rising header by captain, leader, legend, fucking unit, Jason Knight. Love that man. Um, he clears the ball out for the 500th time of the day. Um, Ball goes to the halfway line. Watford player picks it up. He goes sideways and square to, I think it's James Abanqua. Abanqua gives it back to Yasser Larouci. Now, at this point, George Earthy and Sinclair Armstrong are both on Yasser Larouci. We're pressing and we're trying to contain them. George Earthy doesn't stop running for 30 seconds, just following the ball. And then eventually the ball finds the touchline with Larouci again, and he just hammers him. Just hammers him. Um, and there's a clip actually on my Twitter, which I can send in the group chat after this. He just hammers him. The whole of the dolman, which is the side stand, just erupts, like just completely just loses it. And I've not seen Ashton Gate like that in a long, long time. In fact, I don't think I've heard a noise like that for a while. Because
Is it that tweet by any chance?
yeah, that one where he keeps following him, just keeps following him, goes on him, and then the whole of the stand erupts. Everyone around it
It
goes up, and
is good.
then Earthy gives it to the Dolman as well. And then at that point, I went, okay, we are not conceding. we are not going to concede another one. It felt significant because this was a game where I looked at it and went, just win, just hook or by crook, off someone's backside, own goal, 20% possession, one shot on target, jammy goal. I don't care. Just win the game. And we did that. We blew them away first 20 minutes, and that took the game away from them. That was too much for Watford. And as you said, with 6 games to go, 7 points for Watford to make up on Bristol City and Middlesbrough. I think that's them cut, hopefully, from my perspective. So I think that's them sort of, we've cut them off. So that's another team ticked off. I think the real test for Bristol City now is Tuesday night. If we are to get into the top six, which I can't believe those words have just come out of my mouth in April. Someone clip that. Jesus Christ.
Hold on, let me screenshot that. Let me screen record it.
Christ almighty. Um,
I will put this clip on our shorts after the show. So I will try to do that afterwards. Yeah, I will clip that.
I quite enjoyed saying that, so I'm going to say that again. If we are to get into the top six, we have to beat West Brom. I think I know, Michael, you said it. A draw would not be a bad result. I think if we
It
beat
wouldn't
West,
be a great one, by the way, just to point that
it,
out, but it
it
wouldn't be the
wouldn't
worst.
it wouldn't be the end of the world.
It'd be an all right one. I think that's
Yeah,
the best way to put it.
Coventry would probably overtake us. I mean, Middlesbrough have got Leeds, but Coventry would probably overtake us at that point. But if we beat West Brom at Ashton Gate, where we have been so good, like just remarkable, just found a way to win in some of these games, and that's not happened in many seasons. And I think we're fifth in the league at home, and like Sunderland have 3 more points at home over the course of the season. And I think we're the best team at home over the last 15 games or something stupid like that. Point is, we've been magnificent. We've got to leverage that. We've got to leverage that home form on Tuesday. If there is one game we have to win for the rest of this 6 game little mini run, it is Tuesday night. West Brom are a really good team. Obviously, they've got so much quality, attacking wise in particular. But I just feel if we don't win on Tuesday night, it's just gonna be such a sort of that was the chance, Under the lights, it's sold out. The sold out Ashton Gate. Just find a way. Just find a way to win against a relatively fragile West Brom side who have won 1 game in 9, I think, and are a little bit sort of up and down. I heard a stat actually since their 6 game hot start at the start of the season where they were top of the league. West Brom have been performing like a bottom half side since then. So they've actually been since Carlos Corberán left, they've not been very good, basically. So they, I think this is the opportunity. That I think that is the game. And I know you guys might look at it from an outside perspective and go, oh, you still got an opportunity. You've got Luton away, QPR away. They've got them.
It's a championship, though. I know what you
Yeah.
mean. It's a totally every game's
Yeah,
like different, isn't it? So, yeah,
because if we go 6 points ahead of West Brom with 5 games to go,
psychologically, that's huge, isn't it?
just
Yeah.
just just humongous, like just ridiculous, just humongous. And we've got some tough games to come as well. So as I said, if we can leverage that, if we can win Tuesday night, it would just be such a massive boost for all of us. And I think I'm starting to believe that this team, by hook or by crook, through I think we're playing on adrenaline at the moment. Just winning, especially Ashton Gate, just winning, um, just finding a way, and we're doing it in some bizarre ways, some painful ways, some ways that will probably give me a heart attack, especially on Tuesday night if we do the same thing against Watford. And
You're not in my league yet with the heart attacks yet, mate. So don't. Yeah.
mate, don't get me started. All right, if we do that, if we control the game for 80 minutes on Tuesday night and a 2-0 up, and then concede a stupid goal. Because of one moment of quality and then decide, oh my god, we have to now start playing. I will lose my mind. But no. Here's hoping that I don't want to sound dramatic, but that genuinely is one of the biggest games we've had in recent years. Like we've not had a lot to cheer about, right? We've been branded as boring, branded as we're mid-table, we're 13th, we're 12th. We are we're part of the furniture in the championship now. We have got such an opportunity. Yeah, okay, fine. Some teams this season have been slightly lower than expected in terms of the playoff average playoff finish, but the door is wide open. It is right there. We are in there at the moment, um, and we've deserved it for a lot of the season. It's just about finding a way. Uh, and what makes me so happy is that we've actually now had a season of okay, we're not that bad. We're not a mid-table championship side, and credit to Liam Manning. I had to look at the starting 11 again on Saturday. We have a left back playing left centre back. We have a winger playing at right wing back, and we had a right wing back playing at left wing back who is very right footed. We had obviously a midfield three of Jason Knight, Joe Williams, and Max Bird who were excellent. We had a 35-year-old Naki Wells up front. We had a West Ham loanee who's struggled for most of the season in there, and we just find a way to win. I think Liam Manning has done such a good job. No matter what happens from now until the end of the season, Liam Manning has done.
Yeah.
A mind-bogglingly good job. Sorry, I've gone on a bit of a tangent, but
No, no,
I've
absolutely not.
I've
No, enjoy it.
I'm loving every I'm loving every second of watching a team that gives 100%, that just finds a way to win, gritty, is adaptable, is flexible, um, and finally seeing a fan base that's slightly united, and now looks like it's believing. And I've not seen a Bristol City fan base believe in a long time. So it's nice to have that feeling again, and it's nice to have a manager who's calm, composed, but knows what the hell he's doing, and he's doing it very very well. And I would this might be slightly biased, but I'd say he's doing one of the best jobs in the championship.
No, I'd agree with you. I don't think you're being biased. I think you're being pretty
No.
fair. I think, to be honest, like, here's what I'll ask you then. So I'm going to test Annie's resolve here. Let's say Tuesday is a draw between West Brom, because while I agree with you, you are right. The
It's all
opportunity.
shit.
No, hang on,
Stop
hang on.
football.
Let me finish. Right. Let's say Leeds go to Middlesbrough and win. Then straight away, even if you draw, you're in the playoffs. Because even if Coventry go above you, you go above Middlesbrough by a point. Now, I know for your heart rate, you're not going to want that because it's way too close to comfort for you.
Yeah.
But I think, because obviously I watched us play West Brom yesterday. I wouldn't be. Don't be surprised. I'll tell you this now. Don't be surprised if West Brom have a lot of the territory in between both boxes, but are quite toothless in front of goal. Because that's kind of what they've been. That's been apparently a common criticism of West Brom in recent times. And I'll get on to obviously our game in a minute. But yeah, but you're right. Look, it's a massive opportunity for you, and it was. And you and Middlesbrough were obviously the big winners in terms of the playoff chase and pack over the weekend. Because obviously Coventry and West Brom both lost in the lunchtime kickoffs on Saturday. So do you guys think it's going to be two from Middlesbrough, Bristol City, Coventry, and West Brom now? Because that's what it looks like to me.
Yes.
Yes, Millwall could do it with a couple of results either way, but the fact they've got to go to Sheffield United and Burnley makes me very, very apprehensive on that.
I think yes, it's between those four teams now. I think that's it. Listen, it could change. Maybe going down to maybe three. If, like I said, if Bristol do beat against West Brom, I
Oh yeah,
think West Brom will be out of that equation, and slowly but surely. But at this moment, I still think it's those four teams are now is all to play for the final two playoff spots.
and the thing is as well, the one thing that could work in Bristol City's favour, and Annie, correct me if I'm getting this wrong here. I would say the least amount of pressure is on Bristol City out of those four teams. If you look at Middlesbrough and Coventry, they're probably the ones particularly under the most pressure. Middlesbrough, especially, to finish in the playoffs. West Brom, I've seen some of their fans going to still be in the mix after what's happened this season is a good thing, but you look at that squad and while okay, it's not fantastic, I think it's a squad that you would argue should be good enough to be challenging, especially when you've got someone like Adam Armstrong up front. Could that work in Bristol City's favour? Sometimes the teams that have the less expectation are the ones that end up succeeding with it. Look, for example, Ipswich last season. I know
Well,
that's top two and top six, but you get my point.
Michael, to be fair, whenever we've had a home game this season up against a Middlesbrough or a Coventry or who isn't it? Not
Middlesbrough
no,
twice.
Middlesbrough
you play,
twice.
you play.
We played Middlesbrough twice, Ashton, eh? No, but Middlesbrough we'll play West Brom Tuesday, but Coventry, Norwich, Leeds, Sheffield United, Burnley. We've always stood up to the challenge. We've never. I don't think I've ever considered ourselves the underdogs. Obviously, when you go to Leeds or when you go to Sheffield United or go to Burnley, it's a bit of a different story. But at home, I've always felt like we've given everyone a really, really tough test. No
Yeah.
one's. I don't think anyone's come to Ashton Gate this season and gone, okay, that was a nice 3 points. That was quite comfortable. I don't think that's happened this
Well,
season.
I'm hoping it does on Good Friday, but it probably won't.
Hey, listen, if we're fifth by then and we're 7 points clear, you can do whatever you like, right? but I don't.
You know
But
what? A part of me feels like if we go there and just go, should we just lose to make sure these finish above Coventry, so therefore we're not playing Coventry? You know,
no, but yeah, I understand your point about the less pressure,
I'm
but
not saying there isn't pressure, by the way, but there's not as much. But there's not as much pressure for yous as in comparative to a Middlesbrough, for instance.
I think there's more expectation. No, I'd say there's more anticipation with us because as I said, we've been mid-table for so long.
Oh yeah,
We've been we've been we've been there. Now we're here, and now everyone's going. I want to go. I want to go to the Premier League, and it's kind of a just try your best sort of situation. And we know how good we are, especially Ashton Gate. We know how good we can be. So it's a case of, as I said, just play on adrenaline, go with the energy, go with giving it 100%, which these players have been doing all season. To be fair to them, and just playing to our strengths and trying to win as many football games as possible from now until the end of the season. And it's not like that's not to say we've not got any good players and we're a very hard-working team and we're kind of a
Oh, you've obviously got some quality. Yeah, you've
we're
obviously
kind of
got
at
talent.
some of our parts rather than a do you know what I mean? Not We're not like
No,
a
no, no. I know what you mean. You're not a team that's better than the sum of its parts, if that makes sense.
yeah we're not
You've
we're
still.
Yeah, we're obviously not sorry. We're not obviously like a Leeds or a Burnley or a Sheffield United or a Sunderland in terms of the quality, but we've got a nice balance of quality. Scott Twine, Jason Knight, Max Bird, uh, Rob Dickey, some good players. But also, we've got some really hard-working players in there, like your Mark Sykes. Jason Knight falls into both
Yeah.
categories. Joe Williams, Cam Pring, George Tanner, Ross McCrory. We've got some really hard-working players in there as well. So the nice balance is there. A bit nice sort of championship team, and also a nice sort of God. They've got some good players. They can they
Yeah.
can they can hurt us. So I think we've got a nice balance, and that ultimately is also it's nice for Talk Sport and other sort of people to be talking about us in a playoff race and a promotion race, which has not happened in a long while.
No,
Sorry.
you're there on merit though, aren't you? You
Yeah.
can't I mean you're on 60 points after 40 games. So like, it doesn't say Bristol City is sixth, but they're Bristol City, so it doesn't count. Like, it says sixth of Bristol City. So like here's one then. Below let's take the top four out of it for a minute. If you finish in the playoffs, has Liam Manning done the best job from fifth downwards in the championship?
I'd say so.
Yeah. I
I'd,
think the only,
I
the only,
would say
the
so.
only there's only two other people I can think of that could maybe rival that, and even then it's not quite Gary Rowett if he keeps Oxford up, and John Eustace if he keeps Derby up.
Yeah.
But I'm not
John
saying
John Messina as well.
John
John,
Messino. I would say probably, yeah. I think that would be if say you finish in the top six, then from fifth downwards in particular, because I think Reggie Labrie objectively does deserve a good shout for
yeah,
us
yeah,
being as clear as we are. But the difference is, I've always said our squad should be capable of being where we are. Not saying on this amount of points, but like as in we were a lot better than 16th was the point I was making. But yeah, Liam Manning for me, absolutely. And bear in mind, he's done all this in the midst of a personal loss as well. We have to remember he's
yeah.
done all of that, which like how difficult that could have been for him. And actually, it did move me when I saw the reception he got with the Bristol City fans the first come game back after his bereavement.
It was a
Oh
Leeds.
well, while he was in his bereavement, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that Leeds game,
Yeah,
and
it was, wasn't it?
and not to mention a complete injury crisis for pretty much the whole season. As I said, a makeshift back four, going away to Norwich, going away to Preston, winning there with one fit centre back, the right backs playing at centre back. The man has done miracles pretty much all season, and deserves a If we get into the top six, yeah, that deserves at least a nomination. I think for manager of the season.
Absolutely. I think and it's something that I think manager of the seasons. I think I said this to Ant last season that one of the things I hate about is that it's done before the season finishes. Because if, say, for example, let's say Scott Parker and Daniel Farker get their team's automatic promotion, for instance, and I hope this obviously doesn't happen from my perspective, but say if Liam Manning wins Bristol City the playoffs, it's an easy decision. Liam Manning manager of the season. But no, what they'll do, they'll get announced for the second last week of the season, and it's like, well, guys, there's still a lot to play for on both ends
Yeah.
of the league. Why are you doing this now? So, but no, what do you think, Carl? I think, say from fifth downwards, if you take the top four out of it, if Bristol City get in the playoffs, Liam manager would have done the best job. Do you think?
Oh yeah. Pretty much hands down. And you mentioned the other names. If, like, say, John Eustace does well and John Eustace keeps both their
The
clubs.
head coaches of the promoted clubs are the only ones that I think deserve to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
If that
But
makes
I think yes,
if they all stay up, I mean.
yeah, definitely. Liam May is definitely would be my manager of the season.
Yeah. So no, but let's see what. So yeah, well, quick question, Annie. Does your gut feeling say you're going to do it, or is it too much in the air for you to say that at the moment?
I said before this game, and well, I've been saying for a while. I think we'll just miss out. I think we'll still just miss out because Coventry are. I really don't want to. I really can't get a hang on Middlesbrough, but I think if we win Tuesday night, I think I'll slightly sway towards we'll get in there. But if we don't win, I think I'll still be on the slightly just miss out because our fixtures are still difficult. Um, but yeah, I think at the moment, despite me being very happy, being very positive, being very like excited about the possibility, I think we'll still just maybe narrowly 1, 2 points miss out to whoever gets in there. They'll bloody well deserve it.
What do you think the points tally will be required to finish fifth or sixth?
I think it'll be 70 to get in there this season.
Yeah, I'd say around that, give or take 1 or 2 points, maybe
Usually
above. Yeah,
that's
I th-
usually around the average, probably around the average about that point. 70 points is the mark that around the average for a team to get into the
yeah.
playoff.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we got in there 2 years ago with 69, is that the lowest tally that you get sixth? I'm sure. Oh, it's the
Probably,
lowest
yeah.
tally certainly for some number of years. Anyway, fair
Give
enough.
me give me a minute.
Okay, no worries. But to be fair, if you're looking at Bristol City's fixture, I mean, yeah, Tuesday, Carl, does feel considerably huge. Quickly on Watford, to quickly mention Watford while Annie's sort of looking. I mean, Watford's season, look, there's a lot of talk about Tom Cleverley, but I think considering that Watford were tipped to do a lot worse at the start of the season, I don't think it's not a bad season for them at all. But obviously, I get the impression with them it's sort of petering out, and obviously we'll see what happens if. But Tom Cleverley, he's lasted nearly a full season, so well done to him because at Watford that's a
Yeah,
lot longer than you usually a lot of managers usually
I
get there.
know.
But for Bristol City, I'm just looking at the fixtures, right? So if say if you beat West Brom, Sunderland, I don't think is a game that is unwinnable for you, if that makes sense. I think at Sunderland at home, you can certainly get a result. Whether that's a draw or a win, I don't know. But I think there's definitely scope there for the only result I'd really see you losing is Leeds away. That's the only one that I've got. I'm thinking, especially if
Yeah.
Leeds need to be chasing, if they're in the shout for automatics at that point, as in if they're say if they're second and win or whatever. But the rest of them, I'm looking at going well. And I know this might be a Bristol City thing. Say, well, the games that we need to be winning are the ones we don't win. But like QPR away, for example.
Luton
Um,
away scares the life out of me.
Luton away is a trickier fixture than people think, mind. I'll give you that.
Yeah, scaring the
Um,
life out of me.
you
Yeah.
know, but then you look at it. All right, then I'll tell you this now. I'll ask Yanni before you talk about a points tally. If you were offered being sixth on goal difference going into the last game right now, do you take it?
How much of a goal difference swing?
Okay, let me double check. Let me double check the table again. I'll see who's
But between
right.
us,
Okay, I'll tell you what then. Let's assume that Middlesbrough fifth. All right then. I'll take. Okay, say you're fifth,
Mhm.
but you're 1 point ahead of both Coventry and Middlesbrough going into it on the
Yeah.
last game.
Oh, good,
Because
good.
then that means you get in, then doesn't it? Because then either both teams draw, and you've got both teams draw depends on the goal difference really. But then if one team wins,
Yeah.
you finish ahead of the other one, regardless if you lose or not.
To be fair, mate, I'd take seventh on the final day and 1 point
Coventry and
behind.
Borough being right above you with a point ahead of you or something.
Yeah, something like that. 1 point behind, and then we've because
Preston at home is who you've
Preston
got
at
in the last
home,
game.
it is going to be so typical if we draw that game or do something stupid and completely mess up. But I would definitely take that. On the points tally averages anyway, for sixth place over the last 10 years or something like that. 10 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 10 years. The average for sixth has been 74.5. You're right. Sunderland did get in on 69 points in 22-23. The highest has been Huddersfield in 16-17, who
yeah,
got in with 80 points. I believe they won it that season,
they
didn't they?
did.
They
Yeah.
did,
Yeah,
yeah. Beat Reading
well,
in the
and they had
playoffs
the,
on
they had the
penalties.
worst minus goal difference as well
That's
in
mad.
that top six, and they got promoted.
Yeah. And then, but uh, yeah, and then for that seat, obviously, because Sunderland got in with 69, Coventry got in with 70 that same season. And then the highest has been 81 for, which is the same season as the Huddersfield one actually, where Fulham. No,
Yeah,
no, sorry, sixth place was Fulham with 80, and then Huddersfield got 81 and
wow.
finished fifth, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, the points tally is on the lower side this season again. But I think at the moment fifth and sixth are projected 69, which is obviously what Sunderland got that season. I think it'll be 1 or 2 higher than that. and I think that's going to be the benchmark. And I think someone will
Yeah.
be very, very fortunate to get into the playoffs this season.
But let's just say then that if you're looking at the key fixtures, Bristol City, West Brom, Coventry, West Brom, Coventry, Middlesbrough. Those were, if you win, say you get a good result on Tuesday, if you win on the weekends when Coventry and West Brom and Coventry and Middlesbrough play each other, which I know Coventry Borough's on the last day, but if you win those games, then all of a sudden you're in a really strong position. But again, it's just about, it's the cliche, isn't it? It's about just doing your own job to get in there. But obviously, so yeah, I think if you get 10, 11 points, or if you get to say 72 points, you'll be in there. Because I'd imagine that, and again, you've got to remember that teams around you will take points off each other. So it just depends really. But no, it's going to be an enthralling playoff race. So we'll see where
I am not.
we'll see whether comes 3 o'clock on Saturday, May the 3rd, if Annie's very happy or not.
It's something. I don't know if I don't know about enthralling. It's it's definitely something.
I mean, if you to be fair to you, well, there was a point when the position you were in the Championship when we were languishing in League One, I'm going, I'd just kill for a bit of that. Just like knock bottle going up from League One every single bloody season. Just have a nice mid-table sort of championshipy sort of season, and then we got that at the end of last year, and it was crap. So I'm well, I got what I wanted, just the wrong way around, please. There you go. But you're welcome for doing your favour yesterday, as I said.
Thank you very much. Yeah, certainly helped with the
I can
thing
imagine
at
it
the
did.
end. Yeah.
Right, fair enough. Then let's close that the chapter. Actually, moving on to your team, Michael. I have to say, somehow you still technically have some chances of promotion, but I know we're not. I know it's a bit
No,
far
don't
out.
even try and give me false hope, mate.
No, I'm not. I'm not want to give false off, but you got the win against West Brom to to try to to try to you should have a playoff place anyway now in a way. But what a free kick from Trey Hume from instant free kick, and yeah, against say strong baggies yesterday.
You know when you were talking about heart attacks and heart rates, that my heart was literally felt like it was in my mouth
Because you was at the game yesterday, what? Yeah,
from the minute we took the lead. I'm like, oh shit, we've got something to hold on to here. Um, wow. I mean, obviously yesterday I was kind of looking at it going into the game thinking, well, if we don't win this game, it's not the end of the world because of the Coventry thingy. Because yes, I'm thinking about this too much, but obviously we're at the point where, oh my god, I can't even believe I'm still half thinking about top two. Why am I doing this? It's not. Oh my god. If we hadn't slipped up against bloody Plymouth or Hull or Stoke or right, anyway, moving on from that. No, to be fair, it was an absolutely cracking win. It was one that was definitely not a classic from us in terms of performance. We were, if you look at the match stats, if West Brom didn't have at least twice as many shots as we did, I would be very, very surprised. But to be fair, I didn't expect us to go away to West. I didn't. If anyone expected someone to go away to West Brom and absolutely dominate the game, then they're in La La Land, because that was just Tony Mowbray knows us, and you know what the type of football Tony Mowbray plays. West Brom were at home; they're fighting to get in the top six. Our playoff place is all but assured at this point mathematically. I think within the next week it probably will be mathematically assured. So you would like to think fourth place, let alone playoff place, but. That was the type of performance that was based on blood, thunder, guts, and fight throughout a lot of that. And I'll admit, we were. If you look at the free kick, first of all, great technique from Trey Hume. I've got to question the goalkeeper, if I'm totally honest. I think that is it Weldsmith, the West
yeah,
Brom goalkeeper. If you look at where the angle where he is when Trey Hume's about to strike the ball, he's quite far away to his right, the left, your left. If you're looking at it on the camera, and if he goes centrally a little bit quicker and reacts a little bit quicker, he probably gets a hand to that. But to be fair to Trey Hume, I'm not going to complain. It's a cracking free kick, but it was funny story in the away end because obviously I was at West Brom yesterday and it was a great day, and obviously even better when you win. I said when we got the free kick, well, we're not going to do anything from here because we're shit at scoring free kicks. And then 2 seconds later, we end up scoring. And then one of the lads, fair and rightly, turned to me and went, "Hey, we scored a free kick." I said, "I take it all back. Take it all back. We're absolutely mint." So yeah, that was actually it's 2 games in a row we've scored set piece, and Trey Hume's been the match winner. Who'd have thought that? So it was incredible, and we've beaten 2 former bosses as well, which is where we tend to struggle. Lord Voldemort last week and Alex Neil, and then Tony Mowbray. Yeah, first and foremost for Tony Mowbray, as we've said loads of times, I'm glad that he's well. First and foremost, and I wish him the best for the rest of the season. But if we're meeting the playoffs, that obviously goes out in the window. But yeah, we were the first half. We at West Brom had a shout for a penalty, which again I don't think the AFL highlights showed it back, but there was a shout for a penalty in the first half. Maybe it might have been a soft one because I was near the front of the away end, so I couldn't. I don't know what you guys think, but I hate being at the front of a game, like say a few rows from the front, because it just like it looks like a bunch of pinpricks just running around in front of you. You cannot see any half of what ends up happening. Like Annie's view at Bristol City when I've watched him on his vlogs, like that's kind of ideal for me because then you've got a clear view of what ends up happening on the pitch. But yeah, the West Brom obviously hit the post at 0-0, and they missed a free header after we went 1-0 up, which you think, bloody hell, you should be scoring there. And something I noticed that was quite baffling from West Brom is that they're not getting the most out of Adam Armstrong, who was easily one of the best strikers in the league last year. Yeah, well, you see that. Hopefully that continues for your boys. But to be fair, second half, going forward, we did all. Going forward, we did next to nothing apart from like two shots later on with Wilson Isidore. But you know what? That was the way we defended was exactly how I want my teams to defend when we're up against it. Where you put bodies on the line, blocks in the way of a first shot, get into a second ball quickly, and it was just thinking. It gave me back to that Coventry game a few weeks ago. If we had that sort of fight, we don't get beat 3-0, in my opinion. We're too good, in my opinion, to get beat 3-0 off pretty much anyone in this division. And I don't care if that makes me sound arrogant. We're a good side. We should be better than getting battered by anyone, really. But either way, that's a massive one. I mean, I'm just looking. I've got the full game on me PS5 right now, looking it back and just thinking of the fact we got in the way of everything. For West Brom, it's a weird one because before the game, and this might be interesting to Annie ahead of Tuesday. As I said, I heard that they're very good at in both boxes. The play is really good. Like West Brom, and this is with Tony Mowbray. I've also had about over a year of watching Tony Mowbray, so I understand. I know what it's like. They play quite quick, fast, transitional, attractive football, but in between both boxes, and this is where Bristol City could hurt them. In between both boxes, at the both ends of the pitch, which sounds stupid to say, is where they struggle, and that's obviously silly because, well, you win and lose games in both ends of the pitch, but yeah, West Brom and Tony Mowbray teams in particular are prone to an odd moment defensively where they just switch off. So it's one where I wouldn't be surprised if Bristol City didn't have a lot of the ball against West Brom, but I wouldn't be surprised if you also took your chances more than West Brom take theirs. So we'll wait and see. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, but yeah,
Just shoot me.
Yeah.
I don't want to live through this.
Right, fine. West Brom win 2-3-0, put Annie out of his misery, and then lower his but then we'll lower his expectations, and Bristol City will spank him 4-0. There you go. But I'm trying with reverse psychology there. But either way, yeah. Look, it's a massive win. It's a massive win for confidence. It's a massive win for momentum. And stupidly, because I saw Sheffield United lost and Leeds drew, I'm like, no. I'm not going down this rabbit hole. I don't care. Get myself out of this Matrix-style reality where we've got a chance of top two. It's all about momentum at this point ahead of the playoffs. That's literally all I'm looking at it as.
Michael, to be fair, for the top three...
don't start giving me false hope, please.
What I'm going to say is that things tend to be really, really sort of... And I know, Carl, you experienced this last season, didn't you? Where things sort of be really bad for pretty much everyone at this time of the season. Not for everyone. The top, like the teams gunning for automatic promotion, it tends to slip a little bit. Like if you're projected 100, 98, 99, that normally just goes down because of the nerves, because of the anxiety and what's at stake. Can Sunderland win 6 out of their last 7? They've got the capabilities of doing.
We've got 6 games left, by the way. So it's
5 out. Can you win 5 out of your last 6? Is what.
Right, okay.
Is what's really going to be needed, and a little bit of banking on.
That's the problem.
A lot of banking on them.
We're going to have a lot go in our favour for that.
Yeah.
I think the thing you're going to have Leeds continuing to do what Leeds have done recently for the last 6 games, which despite I know Carl will probably think differently, I just can't see Leeds not winning at least 3 or 4 of their last 6 games, if I'm honest. But then again, it's the pressure, as Carl will know. Pressure does funny things to teams, so it just depends what happens. Come back to me after Easter because Burnley play Sheffield United, and that's where. But
that's game 44. To be fair, though,
that's the problem. That's the problem. We would need to win. I mean, look, let's put it this way: what have we got? Norwich, Swansea, then Bristol City, obviously on Good Friday, Blackburn Easter Monday, then Oxford away, QPR at home. Could I see a world in where we win most of those games? Yes, but it all depends on. Look, the one that obviously stands out is Bristol City, because obviously you're the ones now. There's only, out of the teams we've got left, there's only 2 teams that we're playing that really have something to fight for, if you're looking at it in terms of anything other than pride or contracts. And that's Bristol City and Oxford. Oxford by that point could very well be safe by the time we play them because that's the second last game of the season. So it all depends on that. Bristol City, anything can happen there. I mean, since we come into the Championship, we've had a Sunderland win and a Bristol City win, so watch it be a draw now. But yeah, that's the weird thing because if we win against Norwich, and bear in mind we rarely win 3 games in a week, so I'd be very surprised if we won the next 2 actually. But if we win the next 2, let's say our next 4 we get 10 points. Let's say
Well, there's so much going on in your brain right now. It's great. Go on.
good as great for you. Right, okay. Let's say we draw with Bristol City and we beat Norwich, Swansea, and Blackburn. But on top of that, you're going to need Sheffield United to actually go on a bad run that I've been wanting to happen for months, and it hasn't bloody happened. So why would it happen now? And then you need Leeds to continue to be doing Leeds. You need Leeds essentially to go. Talker to go. Do you know what? I'm going to put Melier back in goal. Why not? Why not for the crack? Piss off the Leeds fans. Essentially, that's what you're going to have to rely on him to do. Then I don't know. We'll wait and see. Burnley, Sheffield United, all depends. If you're asking me right now, why am I even fucking talking about this? Why am I even talking about this?
Same Michael, everyone, by the way, who said after the Hull game, top two's done, top two's over, and then
He
what, like
did say that.
3-4 games later, it's
You asked me this, You both asked me this question. You set
are
me
we
down
back?
this rabbit hole.
Are Sunderland back?
Do you know
Are
what it
Sunderland
feels?
going to get
Do
top
you know what
two?
it feels like, right? Do you know the scene in the Matrix where Neo meets Morpheus for the first time, and he has the 2 hands? For anyone who hasn't seen the Matrix, basically you've got 2 hands. Morpheus, a character called Morpheus, has 2 hands out. One's got a red pill, one's got a blue pill in it. So it's like it's got different realities. The red pill is you could stay in this alternate world called the Matrix, where it's like programming and stuff,
Say
and you accept what you
Wonderland.
want to believe.
Yeah.
And then I think it's the red. So it's the blue pill is you believe what you want to. The red pill is you stay in Wonderland and see how far the rabbit hole goes. So it almost feels like I've got 2 options: blue pill, believe that it's top 2 still done, and that it's not going to happen.
The
Or red
red
pill,
pill.
red pill. It's like get addicted to the top 3 results above us, and really pray that they all drop points, then get pissed off when they don't. So that's how it often feels like for me. Look, mathematically, of course, it could still happen, but we would need to win at least 5 of our last 6. If not, truthfully, probably get 16 to 18 points for that to happen. But Norwich, mid-table. Swansea, you'd imagine that result was probably good for us yesterday. Swansea, mid-table. Although we haven't beaten Swansea at home since 2012, I think it is. Then I think, obviously, Bristol City, if we go down, at least get something. You never know. Blackburn, if Blackburn continue the way they are, I fancy us to beat them, to be fair, at the moment. But Oxford, if they're safe, then you never know. QPR on the beach, hopefully by that point, you never know. If we get top 2, look, I will be absolutely buzzing. I will be absolutely the most buzzing I've ever been in my life if we somehow get second from here. But I just think we're relying on. If we had an extra 5 games on top of this, maybe. If we had 10 games left instead of 6, then possibly. But either way, it's important just to keep winning because again, I still think that we have the team good enough to win the playoffs unless Leeds are in there. If we go into it in decent form at the very least. And I'm not deluded in thinking, oh, we'll easily stroll past anyone in the semis, or we'll easily beat one of Burnley or Sheffield United if Leeds get top 2 in the final. No, of course not, because they're obviously there for a reason. But I just hope personally that the West Brom win yesterday, winning away at West Brom, is exactly the type of performance that I could see us doing in a playoff game first leg away from home, where the opposition team's going to come onto us and hopefully we defend resolutely and at least come away with a draw. But who knows? Look, hopefully we get top 2 and I don't have to worry about going to Wembley, potentially anyway, or facing bloody Coventry over 2 legs. And I'm sick of losing to them, by the way. But anyway, we'll see. Being
That
on,
was going to be sorry. That was going to be my next point. If let's say that this is the play, this is
you
what
mean the
Sunderland.
playoffs as it is right now?
Yeah. As in Leeds third and Sunderland fourth. They would be the hot favourites to go and win it, right? They would because they're
Leeds especially, yeah.
yeah, because they've been the best. They've been 2 of the best teams, and they've been miles clear of everyone else, especially the teams who finished 5th and 6th. But do you think Sunderland are? I think that's what I think. Sunderland are probably a better playoff side than Leeds because of history and because of Ellen Road. And I know Ellen Road can be either amazing or a complete nightmare to play
Complete
at.
shit show.
Yeah, it can be a real that derby game. And I mean, like seriously, it can be a real hindrance. But I feel like Sunderland, Stadium of Light, because they've not had you've not had the series of kind of tragic events recently in the playoffs in the championship
I was going to say,
anyway.
not in League One we have, but not
Yeah, League One,
yeah.
but in the
We'll
championship,
ignore League One for the sake of
because
argument. We'll
you know
ignore that.
because you've had a bit of a freak season and a bit of a surprise season, and now you're
Yeah.
fourth, and now you're really good side. I feel like maybe there wouldn't be that level of pressure. Obviously, Sunderland, big club, no, all of that. But compared to Leeds, money, everything,
Parachute, well, yeah, exactly. I mean,
everything,
if you ask
right?
Leeds or Sunderland, who's got more pressure on them this season? It's Leeds, hands down.
Put it
No
this
doubt.
way: who's more likely to turn? Ellen Road after Leeds miss out on automatic promotion and in behind in the second leg of a playoff race, or the Stadium of Light where Sunderland are having a really good season and they're trying to get to Wembley. Who's more likely to turn that around? I'd probably say Sunderland. And also, I think Regis Labris is a really, really good tactical sort of. He can set you up in a way that's going to win you. He can really win you a one-off game of Wembley if you get there. I think Sunderland are a very well set up side to go and do that. So I'd say you, Sunderland, and probably Burnley, if they're in there, would be the two sides I'm looking at going. They're the really good playoff teams,
Yeah.
not like footballing teams over 46
No,
game
but I know what
season.
you mean. In terms of tournament football, and like
Tournament
it's
football,
essentially
exactly.
a mini tournament, isn't it? Playoffs.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, no, I get the point you're making. I think the one thing we would have to do is, and I've seen some of it, and see a lot of fans do this, not just ours, is go, oh, get in the second legs at home. Means fuck all. If you get a shit result in the first leg, you've got to make sure you go. And even if you get a good result in the first leg, sometimes you can get complacent in the second leg, and then it ends up doing it. But no, I actually do take your point. So I think if you look at it from a tournament football perspective, I would probably prefer Leeds or Sheffield United to be in there instead of Burnley, because I think if Burnley finish there, say if Leeds and Sheffield United are top two, um, I can't get past Scott Parker. I can't get past how good they are defending. I could see Burnley in the playoffs drawing 0-0 across two. Actually, no, I couldn't. I could see them
No.
drawing 0-0 in the first leg and then probably winning a comfortable 2-0 at home in the second leg at Turf Moor. And then if we played them in the final, which we've played really well against Burnley both times we played them, I could see them frustrating us to a 0-0 or even a draw, and then James Trafford becomes the hero in the narrative again in a penalty shootout. Which, and as you know, I've had recent trauma with penalty spot kicks this season because we have been atrocious from them. So so Annie, if we go to your place and we get a penalty, don't worry, you're saving it. But anyway, like we just can't score for Toffee. Yeah, no, I get the point. I think we are. I think because the expectation, let's say it was Leeds versus Sunderland right now. I know Carl would probably hate this. Let's say it was Leeds versus Sunderland in a playoff final at Wembley. First of all, for me, that's probably, without sounding too arrogant, that's got to be one of the biggest playoff fixtures ever. Leeds versus Sunderland, if that was the final.
Yeah.
And while I don't want Leeds in the playoffs, but a part of me would be very intrigued to see how they'd react to not being in the top two. Because even if you look at last season, Leeds were in a position to get top two, but Southampton were also there, who were really comfortably better. If you look at the golfing class between Leeds, Southampton, and I think it was West Brom and Norwich, there was no contest. After two legs, both of them were comfortably better, and both of them were relegated parachute teams. This time, if Leeds finished third, am I fair in saying, Carl, that all the pressure would be on Leeds in
Yeah.
the playoffs? So that can work. Sometimes some players can thrive off that pressure. Sometimes they can buckle under it, and especially for a club like Leeds, a size of Leeds, it's just all there to play for. Ideally, I want Sheffield United to miss out, but that doesn't. But again, is the pressure as big on Sheffield United than it is on Leeds, for instance? Now, it would probably be bigger on Sheffield United than us, just because of Parachute Club, got the money, expected to bounce back. But I don't know. The playoff game is a psychological game, isn't it? So it just all depends. And this is why, for example, Bristol City, if they got in there, their atmosphere, their mindset, rightly probably should be, we've got nothing to lose here. We've got nothing to fear. We've earned to be here. We're here on merit. Give it a go. And if we don't go up, we don't go up. And that's just, and to some degree, we probably have the same. Well, Annie, you tell me if I'm talking crap there. But that's for me. We would have that mindset to a degree. But there's obviously but obviously for a club like Sunderland, as we know the size of Sunderland. But I take your point. Compared to the parachute teams, it's like the fact we're even, to be honest, the fact we're even this many points, the fact we're 7 points behind Leeds, when you look at the money they've spent on, I don't like going down this road, but the fact that the money Leeds have spent on their squad, what we've spent on our squad, is frankly ridiculous. to be honest.
Mm.
But obviously, Leeds have earned that right because they've been competent enough to get to the Premier League in the first place. So
Put it
there's and of course there is.
Oh
put it
yeah,
We
put
lose.
it put it this way: the teams who finish third and fourth, they obviously go away in the first leg. If they lose that first leg, I'll say this from my perspective. If we're sixth, we have to win that home game, right? You're fifth and sixth, you have to win that home game.
I would say, especially if you're playing Leeds as well.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't really matter. I don't think you're playing Sunderland, you're playing Leeds, you're playing Burnley, you're
Oh
playing
yeah,
Sheffield United.
true.
It
Okay,
doesn't really
yeah, true.
matter. You've got to win that first leg, and then you've got to make it as difficult as possible, as stodgy as possible, as horrible as possible in that away leg, to try and find yourselves to Wembley. That could play into someone like a Leeds or a Sunderland's hand because they're, or even a Burnley because they're such good footballing teams. Sheffield United less so, I'd say. They're still very good, less of a footballing team, but that could play a little bit more into their hands. Maybe that might be a disadvantage to Blades.
Yeah, maybe. We'll wait and see. There's still 6 huge games to go, but
yeah,
yeah, I'm trying very hard not to think about automatics because I realistically think it's still a lot to ask for. But pressure can do funny things to teams. Let's wait and see. We need to just keep getting on a good run for momentum at least, anyway.
yeah. Fair enough. That's a fair point. Look, I just want to
Sorry,
keep.
Carl. I know we've spent like half an hour talking about our respective teams there, but
Yeah, we have, and I want to keep mine short and sweet. Really short and
do you want to
sweet.
talk about Burnley first, or do you want to
They're
talk about
crap.
your team?
No, no, leave Burnley last. I think they deserve to be
Carl's
finished.
like, I've held this in for 1 hour and 45 minutes. I need to release this or I will explode.
Yeah, I'm going to need to do it.
Right? Stage all yours. Go on.
Well, listen,
Luton 1, Leeds 1.
I think after what's been happening the last couple of games, especially the performance of some of the players, with Brendan Harrison and Elan Melier, especially of how Melier's, conceded 2 goals, calamity goals in the last 5 games, and it's not been good enough. I'm not gonna lie. And listen, Farker, he's been backing him all the summer. And I thought, I'm not going to react angry to this because this is what Leeds fans want us to do. We want to be angry. And then it was scared. And then Farker makes the jump on Thursday in the pre-match press conference that Kyle Dow will go and goal. And I thought, is this too little too late scenario again? Like and then all of a sudden we started well in the first 2 minutes of the game, and then we conceded first again through Isaiah Jones, who volleyed in the front after when he was unmarked. And I thought to myself, we're gonna have another long day of this situation. And then we get to go back through Dan James. We just didn't take our chances, and especially with Nonto, start getting in the start playing a number 10 role after Harris's form has been out of whack a little bit. I think there's pressure again, and don't mock me. I know he's just
Oh no, what's he saying now? He's
yeah. This is where look.
and you got your wish with Cov losing, man. Leave Carl alone.
I know, please don't. Oh God, look. I think deep down at the moment, the pressures again. This is a scenario that we go through every time, even before Bielsa came in. We were in the playoff. It's this scenario we just come so badly in in towards match 8. I don't know what is going on. I don't know if it's a curse that we because how the EFL likes to move the fixtures around, early kickoffs and whatever, to just move us out the funk. And we've noticed that for a long time. We've noticed that for a long time. I think Farker, I was speaking to Reece yesterday on the Saturday show, and he said if you're gonna have to change if he doesn't change his ways. If you get promoted, you're gonna have to change the management for if he doesn't change his style and he in his flexibility, which is fair. And then he comes out the goal to criticize Ramazani, especially yes he got that injury back in October, but you chose over Isaac Smith to play over him yesterday. When Isaac you don't play a lot of Isaac Smith a lot because especially when you bought him, you're not used him a lot, and you're not criticizing him. But why criticize Ramazani for nothing? For nothing, when he was starting well on the team, and he's not made his starting 11 for over since October until So something's not right, It's like Falcons got short-term memory at the moment. I just think the game against Middlesbrough is the most pressure. Yes, we beat them last season where we had that poor run in form last season. It's this scenario again. We win to the last couple of games, last 6 games of the season. We've played Middlesbrough like we did last season, and we won it just. But we were always going to miss out eventually.
Was that the 4-3?
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
So I just think at the moment right now, it's I just don't know if Faka can handle the pressure from the club, and I think the club will have to make a decision, not with just the goalkeeper situation, because I think the way we did it, do the business in the January transfer window, is cost us again. And please do not.
Well, I'll tell you what, let me ask you this to sort of like give you a second to recompose, right?
Yeah,
See, when it comes to Burnley Sheffield United, because the one saving grace for me, and I want to know what Annie thinks on this as well, the big saving grace you've got is that the other two teams around you have to play each other. So straight away, one of them's dropping points, or both of them will gain 1 point. Obviously, you've got games before them, but does that calm you down a little? I know it's Leeds, I know there's the pressure, I know it's Ellen Road, but does how can I put this? Does it give you a little bit of hope the fact that they've got to play each other? Because I think if they didn't have that fixture, then I think there's even more cause for concern. The way I'm looking at it is, yes, I appreciate your run of form recently hasn't been good enough. And when you look at some of the teams you've drawn against, well, okay, let's say, right, West Brom, fair enough, decent side. That's not the end of the world, but draws like that aren't the problem. Losing away at Pompey, that was your first loss in what felt like 10 million games at that point.
yeah,
Like, that happens. It's the games after that, like QPR.
we
Yeah,
were
okay,
two nil
you were
down.
2-0
Yeah,
down, obviously, yeah, but obviously to go 2-0 down in the first place when they're in like upper relegation battle, lower mid-table thing. Swansea's the big one. That's the one where I'm looking at it going, even if you play crap, that doesn't matter. You do not concede in that last minute. You see it out, and I would say, and then obviously, what was it, Luton? I think Luton away doesn't look so bad if you held on against Swansea, but obviously it's if buts and maybes. Do you think the players felt like it was half done after you beat Sunderland and Sheffield United? Because they were two
yeah.
considerable wins at the time, weren't they?
Yeah, it's the same scenario that we did after against Leicester last season. It's that same scenario again where we beat Leicester, yeah, and then I think everything just came crashing down a bit down, and I think that's the problem with Farke. I don't think he's learned from the mentality of dealing with that, and I think the problem is where we did get no one in the transfer window in January. We were linked to a Brandia, we were linked with Dan's, who's going to Sunderland, who's not even played a game yet, which I'm a bit surprised. Which I'm a bit
He's been
worried.
literally injured.
Yeah, he's been injured. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
he's not even going to play for us this season. So that was a great loan deal, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So you haven't missed out on anything there. Don't worry.
Anti's really doing that. He's really now facing me off with the last comment he's just done.
Why? What on? I know Ant's like a shit house, but what? It's just, Ant, how much have you had to drink, mate?
Yeah, how's that social life?
Is
Huh?
he drinking on a school night?
That's what I was gonna think as well. Look, I think.
Easter half term.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah, it's
think.
2 week holiday, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Hang on,
think.
Easter's not for a few weeks though.
Not too after
Ah,
next
hang
week.
on, no, okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's just that inflexibility that Farke is just not dealing with from last season. Nothing. I'm just a prick. Oh god.
Well, at least he's honest. I
But
do is Ant's obviously not had a good season either with Leicester, so he's thinking I need to have some entertainment.
I know.
Carl, can I ask you this? Do you think Farker's here next season if Leeds
No,
don't go up?
no,
I
not
think
me.
that's justifiable if he's not there next year if you
It's
don't go up.
justifiable. It's not good enough. He won't be there next by the summer. He will be gone, and I think Leeds will need to look at someone who can. And listen, I know a small number of Leeds fans would like to see El Loco back after what's been going on in Uruguay. It's not been a
Yeah.
good start. Not been a good time for him with the national
That'll be
team.
bloody entertaining, I'll tell you.
But that's the problem. Is when you go back to Manchester for a second time, does that can that work? Because what Bielsa will do, he's going to overburn that squad, overrun that squad because that squad was the squad that he had. You can see at the end the way it was going crumbling down. So the 49ers are going to have to play this, but safe, play this, and think is Bielsa worth it? with everything that we've been through, the way it ended and stuff, is it a risk to do it? That's the questionable answer we need. You need to answer if we get with Farker. Who comes in?
Here's one, and this is going to sound really stupid, but here's my point. Even if you get promoted, do you keep Farker? And the
No,
reason I ask that is because I know, Annie, I know it's a daft question to ask,
I'm
but you
surprised
look
by
at.
the answer, to be fair.
Sorry?
Surprised by the answer, more not the question.
no, I wouldn't. If he doesn't change his ways, of that's the question. If he doesn't,
Yeah,
that's the problem we're gonna have because he I like what Reece said yesterday. He's not a good Premier League manager. He's done that with Norwich. You can
yeah.
see why how that ended. So I think there's a lot of there needs to be some decisions needs to be made to say either change your tactics because you don't want to be in for Southampton, or we'll find another manager that will be a bit more will be flexible
Yeah, I see
in
what you mean.
game by game.
I think to be fair, if you get promoted, then let's say the top three get promoted. Let's say two of them obviously get in the top two, and say whoever misses out wins the playoffs. Um, Leeds are the ones that I'd be most intrigued to see how they would do in the Premier League because, look, being honest, I don't think Chris Wilder or Scott Parker last until Christmas if
No,
Burnley and Sheffield United get promoted. I think Scott Parker's a very good Championship manager. It's obviously, and Chris Wilder, to be fair, they've both been proven. Scott Parker, I guess it depends on the circumstances, doesn't it? Um, Nigel Pearson.
I agree with that.
Okay, Carl, how about this one? Leeds get Liam Manning, Bristol City reappoint
Right,
Nigel
let's
Pearson.
not do that. Let's not talk
no, we're
about
not
that,
going to go
okay?
that far. I'm
I
sorry.
Get your
knew that reaction was going to go poorly.
far away.
Yeah,
No, we
absolutely.
don't want to go that road. Yeah, no.
60
Yeah.
million.
I'll tell you who. I'll tell you who Ant would. I'll tell you who Ant would recommend if you got promoted. Steve Cooper.
Rude Van Nistelrooy.
Absolutely, absolutely. Claudio Ranieri. Why not? Let's get the old band back together. But you
Robert
know what?
Hoof. Wes
Yeah.
Morgan.
Oh my god. But no. The reason I say that is because Leeds are the ones that I could see, depending if the recruitment's good enough, are the ones that have the best chance of the three above us to stay up. Because obviously we know how big the golfing class is. But I just wonder, if you got a better manager, if say you got promoted and you got someone who's going to be better, then like it's your chances of doing prospering in the Premier League or at least staying up and
It's
better in that regard.
the problem is the gulf of that Premier League. The 17 teams now is just it's far
Well, yeah, but
unreachable.
I more mean that your ability to attract players, and to be honest, I think probably a bit similar to Sunderland. If say if it, I know Carl will hate this, but say if Burnley Sheffield United got top two and we won the playoffs somehow when you was in them, I'd be disappointed if we didn't finish above Burnley and Sheffield United at least, even if we did get relegated. In the very likely event that would happen, because I think our recruitment should be better than both of theirs, and I think the same for Leeds as well. I think clubs like Leeds and Sunderland should have a bigger pull, with all due respect, than Sheffield United or Burnley in the Premier League. Now, does that mean we stay up? Does that mean either of us stay up if that happens? No, it doesn't automatically mean that. It probably means bottle, because we'll probably still go down because of how big the golfing class is. I
Yeah.
would phrase this. I think both Sunderland and Leeds, with recruitment-wise and who they should be able to attract, should have a better chance of staying up, even if we end up going straight back down anyway.
To be fair, Michael, can I just say on that point, what we've been noticing in recent years is there have been like a select group of players who've been traded between clubs that have gone up and then other clubs who've gone down. So last season, for example, Burnley went down. Muric, Ogbene, O'Shea all went to Ipswich. Nathan Collins went to who was it? Wolves or Brentford or something like that. So they've been like
Brentford, yeah,
there've been like a select, and then Ogbene obviously went to Luton when they went up, and Dara O'Shea went to Burnley when Burnley went up. So they've been. It feels like the market's kind of restricted.
exactly.
Obviously, you could do what Fulham did, or you could do what Bournemouth have done recently, where they've gone abroad to Portugal, to Spain, to France, to Italy, and signed players there. Then, then you are looking at something, and Leicester have done it a little bit as well with Akoli. They did it in the Championship as well, but there's kind of a restricted market. So I understand that size of club obviously helps in terms of attracting players, but it's so difficult to bridge that gap. like for anyone who goes up from the
Oh
championship.
yeah, no, yeah,
Like no matter
no.
you could you could sign, I don't know, some really. I think the only way to do it, or the only way to try and do it, the easy solution is try and sign experienced Premier League players. Yeah, good luck forking out £35 million for each and single one of them.
That's the problem because
See, you're not, you don't, you,
by the
and you
way,
need to, and you need to upgrade your squad whilst you're doing that as well. So it's just going to be like so difficult. It's going to be difficult for everyone, no matter how big the club is. It's
no, you are
poor
right. Yeah.
because whoever goes up will have £100 million. They'll all have £100 million to kind of play with, plus more depending on
I was
club.
going to say you don't get that till the end of the season, though, do you? I don't
I don't
think.
think
I don't.
I think Ipswich will disagree with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
um,
but you don't get you can spend the money knowing you're going to get 100 million though. It doesn't mean you get it straight away. I don't think.
I
I
don't
might be
know.
wrong. I might be wrong.
I don't know. I've not.
The
I'm
point I was making was
sure.
no. Look, don't right. Let's say for example we got promoted. I would expect a lot of our business to be done abroad, and I know Anne said we went abroad and ended up with absolute morons. This is again where this is where again it comes into how good your recruitment is. But let's put it this way: we signed Enzo Lefebvre in January, right? If we got promoted, I feel like every signing we would have to make would have to be at minimum on his level to have a chance of staying up. And that's the chances we don't get our prize money till the end of the season. That's what I mean. I could be making that up. I could be making it up that you get it to the end. My point is, I'm not saying that if we got promoted, oh, we'll sign the best players because we're Sunderland and we'll. I know you're not saying I have said this to be fair, but I'm not saying we'll sign the best players because we're Sunderland and we'll stay up. My point was, I think we should be able Leeds or Sunderland in comparison to the other promoted clubs should, however small the chance is, have a better chance of staying up, even if it's an extra, say, if they extra 2%. Granted, still not much more improved, but
No, is
still,
it? Yeah,
but this comes down to, but again, there's no doubt in my mind that now, these days, the only other way you can think of to do it, and it's a very risky way of doing this, is to do what Forest did. Go and spend 150 million. Screw financial fair play. If you stay up, it's all worth it. The problem you've got now is because how strict FFP is, what happens if it doesn't work? And that's the whole point, isn't it? And you look essentially what Ipswich did. They just went, right, he was mint in the championship, sign him. Wait, he was class in the championship, sign him. Oh,
yeah,
he was mint.
and
He's even class.
yeah, and the same thing happened to Luton last season when they should have spent a bit more in the January transfer window. They could have stayed up. There were only 6 points. We had to miss. They were relegated by 6 points, and that's the issue. I think.
Anne's
I think
point's interesting when he says, I disagree with Brighton, Brentford, Tin Pot, nothing clubs. With zero. Ant, you don't pull punches, do you?
I know.
Both have big pulls.
Hey,
But that's the point, right?
at least those two clubs have done better in the transfer window, say
But if
between
anything, that backs my point up, though. Because if those two clubs can do it, why can't Leeds and Sunderland do it?
right.
That's
Yeah.
the point I'm trying to get at.
And why
So,
can't, and why has Leicester not done it? There's a reason why Leicester not done it because when the whole play for so long, they
yeah.
can't they're too late to cash out. Where Brighton and Brentford have done that respectively well to a certain point, and they still know how to find the players that's come through.
Essentially, what you need is if you get promoted, you need to finish above the other two promoted clubs, and you need to hope one of the teams above you has. Because we
Yeah,
can't
you are
find
run by
one.
morons, mate. No disrespect, you are run by morons. We had the West Morons
Well,
before the
yeah.
49ers.
Well, the point is, if say one of us got, if say Leeds or Sunderland got promoted, you'd have to finish above the other two, and hope one of the top 17 goes. Do you know what? I'm bored of being in the Premier League. Let's really run a shit show and fancy getting relegated and be really crap this year.
You
You
see,
know,
that's the problem as well. Because
yeah,
now it looks like the three up are going to come three back down. That happened last season as well. So if you think
yeah.
about it, it's going to be the same 17 that have had two transfer windows, and then another two transfer windows, and then another transfer window.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And
Yeah,
now they've already got Premier League ready squads. They've already hot favourites to stay up in this division. Now they're going to add more and more layers to that, and unless, as you say, someone genuinely properly shits the bed, that's
Bombs, basically, yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
And Wolves this season have crapped the bed. Like they are performing really badly, but they're not performing as badly as they're performing badly,
but not badly
But,
enough to
but
be overtaken by one of the promoted clubs.
Yeah,
and now they're 12 points clear of Ipswich. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're seriously bad and you're seriously like you've got hope, as you said, one of the 17 really screws up, but it's just getting harder and harder for anyone that goes up to kind of stay in there,
yeah.
and that's unfortunately the churn that has been created. What I will say is when Brighton went up, that was in 16-17 or 17-18 or something like that. That was
17, 17, 18. Yeah,
yeah, that was a while ago, and Brighton had years of kind of transitioning to that. Brentford were the masters of it, where they, um, like 5-6 years of being or really kind of selling players for loads of money and then signing better players and then finding themselves in the Premier League. That's a real good that's a real good success story as well. But yeah, it's going to be so tough. Leeds, Sunderland, Accrington, Stanley. It doesn't matter, right? It's so difficult for anyone that gets in there. To go stay in there, no matter the size of the club, no matter well, whoever you sign to bridge that gap is going to take a gamble and it's going to take a hell of a lot of luck and reliance
Well,
yeah.
the main bit is good recruitment.
and good recruitment. Absolutely.
You
Which
know,
historically we've not had the last couple of years.
in other words,
Oh,
not be run by morons, as Anne says.
yeah, well, for us, we should have we should have got someone in January. That was always the questionable when other clubs around us were going to do that, and that's the issue. At least because they're too scared to really like to screw by the EFL because of historically us and the EFL don't get along quite well, and that is the issue we have. But you know what? I think I'm going to part this to one side because I do want to
Carl,
finish.
can I just ask you one last question?
Yeah.
As it stands right now, do you think Leeds get in the top two?
That's a really tough question. You stumped me there. It the insurance policy that we have left is the Burnley Sheffield United game. That's the only insurance policy we have
That's
left.
your trump card, isn't it? Yeah.
That is our trump card. We've got to
That's
go.
the trump card if you beat Stoke, by the way, just to make
Yes.
that clear. You have to win that. You have to
If we
win against
don't beat
Stoke.
Stoke on Easter Monday, I don't think we'll go up history because of the way how we how we've that's historically, and I'm going to be honest with you. I want us to go up, but it's the way we don't beat Stoke. I think the mentality we're going to be we have to focusing mentally on the playoffs, and it's going to be a drag between us and the fan and us and the players and the fans and the club altogether.
But this is the thing because ultimately the point about the going up is the big thing. But the alternative is if you don't go up, better players leave, got to start again, and all that stuff and all that stuff. So it's almost kind of feels like what's happening at the minute is a mindset of well we're going to get battered in the Prem, so we might as well not go up. Which is like if that's the case, then what's the point in aiming for anything? But yeah, no, I mean, okay, Annie, I'll ask you: do you think Leeds, as we can probably say it from an outside perspective, do you think Leeds get automatics at this point?
I
I'm
think
gonna I'm gonna stick my neck on the line and say yes.
I think they do. I think
Doug, for fuck's sake, Doug, man, Jesus Christ.
Hang on, where's George? No, I won't. Carl's been traumatized enough. I
I
won't.
I think that Sheffield United Burnley game, fact that it's round 44, that both of them, by the way, going to be so nervous unless there's like a points differential, but which is I think is going to be unlikely. Either way, I think that is going to be so cagey, so tight, so nervy. I think Leeds can really capitalise, and I think that will be the difference.
And I'm
It
right in
won't.
thinking Leeds played before then. That's the tea time kickoff on Easter Monday, isn't it?
Yeah,
Burnley Sheffield United.
Is it round 40? That is round 44, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's
yeah.
Easter Monday.
Burnley
Yeah.
Sheffield United play late at 7:45. We play at 3 o'clock against Stoke.
This is it though, because if you're, let's say the points gap, let's say the table going into round 44 is what it is now. So Burnley 2 points above you, Sheffield United 1 point above you.
Yeah,
You suddenly beat Stoke above the pair of them, and
yeah.
then it means that one of them at least is dropping points. So you're either going to go a couple of points clear ahead of one of them, or potentially even above both of them. And it just all depends.
And
Uh,
then your last two games, they look all right, don't they?
We got you guys, and then we got Plymouth on the last day away. Yeah,
Especially if Plymouth are already down by that point as well.
That should be 6 points.
Carl's like, well, he's like, well, Swansea should have been 3.
So we have the 1:12 kickoff is against Preston next Saturday. That's the only one I do know. And then on the last day of the season, it is all going to be 12:30 kickoffs because of the last day of the season.
Yeah, ours is a Monday night, isn't it?
Yeah, our game, yours,
Why?
you guys is Monday night on 8 o'clock. So
Stupid.
it's stupid. I know. This is like the evil knows how to play fuckers around. That's always been, the relationship we've had with them since we ever got relegated back to EFL from the Premier League, the points deduction or crap. So yeah, they like to play us about.
Yeah, and we would have taken quite a bit, I'm sure, down the road as well, considering our league position. Anyway,
Absolutely. Right. Let's finish this briefly, because I want to get up to the table. It's coming at 10:15 anyway, so we
Yeah.
need to.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah. So get on to we would have had Dan on here, but Dan's probably tired after it's his daughter's birthday, which is fair, more understandable. But a good win for them in the second winning 2-1, but the second goal was actually had the easy.
What the hell's going on there? I have no clue.
Yeah.
Do you think Coventry's goalkeepers just realised, hang on, that ant from, was it Leicester fan channel? Yeah, he thinks I'm shit, so I'm associated with Coventry. Shall I go and prove him right and say that Coventry were a bunch of trophy dodgers and bottle jobs?
How did Brad Collins just? I know Oliver Dover's been out injured, and Brad Collins is the second goalkeeper, but it just surprised how the first minute of the game you could see the goal like that in a way, and a mix up between Liam Kitchen and himself, and he just nutmeg Thomas to find the back of the net.
Not that goal, not fully on Brad Collins. As you said, Liam Kitching is
Liam
also
Kitchen
heavily involved. That he shouldn't. Both very good players. That should not be happening.
Yeah,
No chance.
To be fair, got to say for Burnley, that feels like a big marker for me. I know Sheffield United, to be fair, were very good against Coventry last week and fully deserved the scoreline that they got. In fact, if anything, it was probably harsh on them, to be honest, only winning 3-1. But the difference with Burnley, that was at the CBS. That's where Coventry in general, while you can say results haven't been quite as good as performances, that's a big statement. That's Coventry going for the playoffs, going 1-0 down at the CBS, where the crowd's behind against you, players are against you, everything's against you. And you've come out of that with a win, having probably, and bear in mind, Coventry conceded within the first 5 minutes. Was it the first 5 minutes that they went 1-0 down?
They went 1-0. I think they went. I'm going to check again. Actually, I think they went 1-0 up. Yeah, Burnley
Burnley went 1-0 down. Sorry.
Yeah, had you right scored. There was question of him, was he offside as well, because there was a lot of controversy.
Yeah, I mean, it's less of a talking point because Burnley won now, but I mean, you've got to hand it to Burnley for that. And I think, do you know when we criticised Burnley, rightly so, earlier in the season, they're starting to turn these draws into wins now, and this is where I think, and this is where I keep coming back to. In fact, I call myself clean sheet wanker because I am, but also because clean sheets make a bigger difference than football fans admit to. Because if you're, I mean, don't get me wrong, don't just rely on that. Don't just draw 46 games without scoring or conceding a goal, but because that's never going to happen, is it? But what I mean is, if you know you're good defensively, okay, yes, they conceded yesterday, but if you know you're going to keep a clean sheet, if you know you're going to, at the very worst, you pick up a 0-0. At the very worst, you can be crap and win 1-0 with a shot deflected off someone's elbow. And knowing the EFL officials, it would probably be allowed to stand. But the point is that the confidence that Burnley, for me, are the one out of the three that seems to start to be peaking at the right time. And I don't just mean in terms of results; I mean performances as well. I mean performance, and to be fair, we're at the stage of the season where results are primary above everything else. Performances, unless you're a team that wants momentum, like say Sunderland, for example, going into the playoffs, or the playoff chasing packs, for example. You want a bit of decent performances to go with the results from momentum. But I've been quietly impressed with Burnley the last few weeks, but I don't know what you two think.
You mentioned the kind of peaking. Anthony, Marcus Edwards. Yeah, they've started to really. We talked about Burnley's goal scoring problems. Having them two now properly click They're
Yep,
such a threat. They could. We played them. We played Burnley last week. They caused us so many problems down the flanks. And
they
they were
did.
yeah, and they were really really good. The pair of them. So they, you know how many teams have an X factor like Leeds have well, Leeds have too many. So Sunderland have Rig, Bellingham, Enzo Lafay, Wilson Isidore, for example. I think having Anthony and Edwards in particular for Burnley are going to be like really crucial.
Mm.
And they've got options after that: Sarmiento, for example, Hannibal. Um, so yeah, it's ticking at the right time, as Michael said.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Here's one last question before we do finish. I know we want to wrap it up. At the moment, who's your money on for top two? And bearing in mind that's as of right now. To caveat this because it can change so quickly.
God,
I
man.
still think it's going to be Leeds and Sheffield United.
I, s- I think I stand by that. I think it's going to be Leeds and one of the other two. But to avoid not answering the question,
Yeah, I know.
Leeds and Leeds and Burnley at the moment.
Well, do you know what? It's a hard one to say.
Carl, right? Just here's what you do: do reverse psychology. Say Burnley, Sheffield United, and then Leeds will finish second at least.
Yeah, well, do you know what? If I've learned something from a year ago, I remember from my tutor from college, he was a Man United fan because he knew he would lose fan, and it was the same season when Man City was going to win the league, won the league. He pissed me off so much because the way Man City were playing. So I said to him, "I'll bet you £20 if you lose the title and Man City win it." And he paid, and when he lost it, I went ecstatic because everyone realized I did what I had to prove myself. I have got to do with it against, but it is at this moment, Burnley Sheffield United at this moment. If the reverse psychology works, that's a
Yeah, I was
question.
going to say he's taking my advice. Good lad.
I will do what the best I can, even though I'm looking. My partner has been very helpful and understands my
Right.
frustration. She kind of sees it, even though she's from the US, but she at least herself she kind of sees it. It's like, how you a bit of a curse. I don't know. I'm not watching the games. I'm going to
Right.
try
Here's
and
what I'll do. I'll join the reverse psychology train and say we will not get promoted this season. There you go.
right. Fair enough.
We'll see.
I
And you can do the same and go. Bristol City will not finish in the playoffs. There you go.
appreciate that.
This
Maybe
is
the
all just
reverse psychology hat trick works.
this is all just a big nightmare. We're actually 13th. We're actually 20 points behind everyone else. We're
Yeah.
just this
Yeah,
is all just
exactly. I mean, you're doing absolutely crap. We've got Michael Beale back. Reggie Labrise is all a dream. Michael Beale ball, absolutely everything. We've got Bradley Dack starting up front. Happy days. You know,
God.
what a
Um,
time to be alive.
I remember when he left you, we were linked with him for a while because we were not going to get Scott Twine for
And if I remember, I think I said to you,
God,
stay well clear of him.
Jesus Christ, that was a painful.
That's a
Sorry.
tragic
Yeah.
signing.
Yeah.
Should we head to the league table?
Yeah, go on then.
Yes,
Let's end it.
absolutely. Let's get to the league table. And Burnley move above Sheffield United and Leeds. The biggest movers were actually Middlesbrough and Bristol City. Then move into the last two player spots with Coventry West Brom dropping down. And that means it's the end of the ride for Blackburn Rovers, who are well behind, 8 points well behind now. And then at the bottom of the table, it's with only teams that did win in the bottom five that Plymouth did win, but they're still 2 points behind Luton Town, alongside with Hull City and Oxford were the only big winners, alongside with Swansea over this weekend in the bottom half of the table as well. So yeah, it's hard to play for in the last 6 games, and we can go look at the fixtures this week coming up on the Tuesday of April, and then there's a 9 huge games in the top half. Like Annie said, West Bristol City home against West Brom, Burnley go away to Derby County, while Sunday away at Norwich with Oli as well. We're looking at here, Sheffield United home against Millwall, and Leeds are away at Middlesbrough on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. Also on Wednesday, QPR go away to Oxford United, Swansea against Plymouth Argyle, and Coventry, who are really threatening to try to defend at home against Portsmouth. And then the fixtures this before the weekend coming up: Bristol City against Norwich City, which is the Friday night kickoff, and on Saturday both Leeds and Sheffield United are playing at half 12s. Leeds at home to Preston, while playing Argyle. home against Sheffield United, and Bristol City go away to QPR, and Sunderland at home to Swansea City. So, and then a Monday night to finish off is Hull City against Coventry City on Monday Night Football on the 14th of April. We were gonna finish off shortly, but we might have someone join us for a brief period, only briefly. He's not going to come on for long, but he's going to join us briefly. We should wait for him, and yeah, he's probably having his Larry's the last two games started to mock me after we drew against Swansea, and now the top of the table at this
Why do I
moment.
feel I know who this is?
Yeah, we should have him on shortly. He's popping in briefly. He's gonna pop in briefly. Hopefully, I'll send the link again. But yes,
Is this particular individual very happy at the result of the CBS Arena yesterday?
yes.
Okay. Is he
Very.
someone who, in his own words, is a dick?
I love him as a friend because, as let's say, if you remember a couple of years ago, his team went down at the expense of us staying up against Brentford. So there is a pretty much.
Oh, it's not who I was thinking of. Never mind. Okay.
Well, yeah. And
Well, they were both very happy at the result of the CBS Arena.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true. Yeah, for
exactly.
different reasons. Yeah.
For reasons.
One for his own team's sake, the other one for a club that he slags on a regular basis having losing.
Oh, yeah.
My body's just had a reaction to seeing that league table.
Yes, I know.
Don't like it one bit.
Oh God, yeah. Well,
you said it, Annie. You're playing for something now. You're not
yeah,
like
you
languishing mid-table, bottom half. So, actually, no, sorry, top half. To be fair, that's what you're
Mate,
saying.
being 10th or 11th at this point is not as stressful.
Nah, I wasn't stressed last season taking Stoke's annual 16th place finish off them. So, you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, listen, it's a big.
Yeah, I'll be keen to see what this individual thinks about the top two, sort of battle. But maybe
Right.
I might say. So go on.
I know we're waiting for Dan, but I'm
You,
gonna have to.
Addy,
No
you
worries.
can get off. You're free. You can go.
Yeah.
You're good.
I'm gonna pop off. It's quite late, and I want to play some FIFA before I go to bed.
Exactly. No,
No,
you
no
go play
problem.
some FIFA. We wait.
Get on his Bristol Rovers career mode.
Yeah.
Just to piss him off. No, Annie, this is the point. Go to Bristol Rovers and relegate him to League Two. Fine.
Obviously. All right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna head off.
See you later, Annie.
Yeah,
Thanks again, mate.
Yep. Well,
Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, yeah, so I don't know what Annie means about that league table. So it feels quite weird. We're probably the most secure club in the league at the moment, which is quite strange. But yeah, maybe I'll say to this particular person who's coming on, like going, I bloody hate your goalkeeper, especially after the 2 penalty saves from Wilson Isidore.
I know.
Oh, yeah, mate.
Oh God, I'm not looking forward to this, and especially it all started last Saturday when I just thought when I commented in the group chat I was deflated.
Yeah, your reaction after you lot drew with Swansea was exactly the same as my reaction when we conceded late at Millwall, drew at home to bloody Plymouth and everything. There he is.
Man of the hour.
Whee! How are we doing?
Some of us probably considerably happier than others. I'll let you guess who's who on that regard.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can hear you loud.
Right. Happy days. I'm on my phone, so that's why it's all massive.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
To be fair, I thought it'd have me straight, but don't know why it's got me full screen.
Oh, don't worry. No worries. It's fine.
Oh, happy days. You'll just get a close up of. But no, I'm in a few group chats, and there's been a lot of them this week that aren't that happy. People that are in sport teams in relegation battles. A couple of Rochdale fans that are peed off that they lost to Spennymoor to get to the final.
Get to the point. Get to the point.
Well, they're all that. It's a terrible week for everybody. And I had to be the arsehole that put not for all of us and send a picture with a beer in the pub like, hey!
God's sake, man.
Sorry, Carl, but if Carlsberg did weekends, then
Scotty, I use that phrase for my uni presidential years ago, so don't go there with that. So.
Listen, I've only got two phrases: that and Leeds are falling apart.
You and Doug are pissing me off. You know that, don't you? I love you, but you're pissing me off.
Carl, this will make you feel better. Here's what could happen: Leeds and Sheffield United top 2, Burnley Sunderland playoff final, and then Wilson Isidore gets redemption for the James Trafford thing back in January, and then probably misses an open goal. Knowing our luck.
What's the word? That's what it's staying down forever. We'll never see you win.
Right, where's the screen recording button? If we play Burnley in the playoff final, I'm going to send this to the club and go, right, there's your motivation for the playoff final.
Hey, he's on the fan advisory board, Dad is, so actually it would be worth it to play.
Yeah, it would.
Pay for it.
Would.
Not for me.
100%.
Imagine if us and Burnley played each other, it went to penalties. I'm like, well, we've lost this. Never mind.
To be honest, it's like I'm only gloating because it's been like we've been trying to push and get to that top spot, and everything just the stars aligned this weekend, and just it was just perfect weekend. As a fan, it's what you'd all want for your team. So I'm just enjoying it while it's here because we've now got 7 more games of hell to go through. We are now the team that everyone's going to be looking at, thinking, let's hope Burnley drop points. I'm going to say it now, right here, right now. I am not looking forward to Tuesday night against Derby. I actually think we're going to lose. I think our 27-game unbeaten run, the only team unbeaten in the 92 since Liverpool's Dross game today. I think our run will come to an end at Pride Park on Tuesday.
Are you trying to do reverse psychology on us as well? Because
I wish it was reverse psychology, mate. I really wish it were, but I just think Derby and John Eustace is a cracking manager. I rated him at Blackburn as well, unfortunately, but they need the points as well, especially after that loss to Swansea. A bit of a sucker punch result at the weekend. And it was a sucker punch to my football bet as well because they're the only team to let me down for $3,500. So that really hurt. But
national yesterday instead of the football result.
Oh, mate! Even if I'd have bet on national, I'd have picked a donkey. So it's pointless.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Actually, we all would do anyway. So yeah, that's a fair point. Listen, Dan, give us your final predictions of which team the top 2 teams will go up.
Well, I've got to throw Burnley in there because we can't have 2 Yorkshire teams going up. It's just not right. So,
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Well, there you go, Dan. You made Ant very happy.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Karma as well. You know what? Coventry have some of the most bitter supporters I've ever come across. You even get linked to one of their players, and that's it. Your fan base is attacked. It's mad, absolute madness. Don't get me wrong. James Bell lived up to his last name. He was an absolute horrendous referee. The linesmen were no better. How can you give a goal? Who's to some guy who's literally been to the shop, got a phone call off the missus and said you forgot something. That's how much offside he were. He were nowhere near. James Trafford practically was playing midfield with that offside. It was just wrong on all levels. And Coventry complaining we're playing the dark arts, time wasting. Coming from a Frank Lampard team, yeah, okay. I'm expecting. Do you know what? I think it's going to be us and you lot, Carl. To be fair, but the worrying thing for me is the pressure is on Burnley and Leeds. Yeah. Sheffield United have done a rebuild, sort of done what Burnley did a few years ago. Came down, had the company season, rebuilt, and expected almost like it to gel over a season or 2 before promotion. But they've done similar to Burnley, where they've peaked early. Fingers crossed it also continues in that Burnley fashion though, and Sheffield United, if they do go up, come straight back down again.
Yeah.
Do you know, to be fair, I really do, because of obviously the fact I've resigned to the fact we're in the playoffs now. Despite how much Carl and Annie were trying to half talk me into believing we've still got a mathematical chance of automatics, which we have, but it's not happening. I almost want it to be used to, because I don't want Burnley in there because of Scott Parker. Even though I think we would be capable of beating you at Wembley if we did meet in the final, but Scott Parker and how good you are defensively, it would really worry me if you went ahead against us. I'd go, fuck. Like, this is these teams. This is going to be impossible to get back into this. Whereas Leeds, whatever the run of form or their fans might say, have got a class side for this level, apart from the goalkeeper
Yeah.
probably. But like, whereas I think Sheffield United, and again, it frustrates me because I've watched a lot of their games, and you've both watched me rant about it in the group chat so many times. I swear to God, Lady Luck has gone to Chris Wilder and made the deal with the devil for the season. The amount of times they've won games when they haven't deserved it or
Yeah.
played well, and that's what annoys us about it. And not to mention Chris Wilder's a fucking bellend. Can't stand him.
Yeah, he is.
I
He is.
absolutely hate Chris Wilder with a passion.
You know you hate him that much when the charity game in for like Chris Basham's testimony. I hope Steve Bracknell sticks one on him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is it though. Like, I think if Sheffield, I hope it's used two that go up, because I think you are the two best teams in the division, and I think Sheffield, because the difference for me, for example, say when Burnley and Sheffield United, a lot of talk's been about
Yeah.
Burnley's good defensive record. Say when Burnley win 1-0 and Sheffield United win 1-0, here's the best way I can describe it. Burnley win 1-0 by completely shutting down the opposition, and that's not luck. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Sheffield United, and to be fair, they were good against Coventry last week, but as far as I can see, obviously they lost yesterday. For me, that performance was
Mhm.
an anomaly. I don't know how much either of you have watched of Sheffield United this season, but for me, Sheffield United, for example, Sheffield Wednesday, before the international break. Oh, look, Sheffield Wednesday have two big chances. Oh, they conveniently get saved by Michael Cooper. Oh, look, an open goal, 1-0 win. I'm like, how the hell is that sustainable? That's
Sheffield
sustainable.
Wednesday were absolutely battered them in that Steel City derby as well. I think going forward they were all over them.
What's the full game, I'm guessing?
Yeah. I was sat in the Royal Dash and watched it with open eyes, thinking, "Come on, drop points, you bastards, please." But it's just one of them. They got lucky, and I were hoping the same against Coventry. I were hoping they'd do us a favour, but they crumbled. I actually have to have a laugh because I went on a Coventry fans channel, and they said if we get the first goal, I don't think you'll get back into it because I don't think you know how to respond. And I'm not blowing my own trumpet as a Burnley fan here, but if you don't know how to respond after going 1-0 down, you're not worthy of going up to the Premier League. Nobody in that top six has a squad capable of competing in the Premier League.
Exactly.
I'll say that now, and I include that in Burnley, Leeds, Sheffield United. The squad hasn't got the depth for Premier League football, and I'm at a point now where I used to be excited of going to the Premier League, playing your Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, etc. I'm not asked anymore. It's a money exercise as the Premier League. So do we go up? Brilliant, yeah, money in the bank.
Yep.
If we achieve something, like maybe a really good FA Cup run, staying in the division, it's all down to money for me.
I echo what Dan said. The golf is now changed. Now all the 70 teams have got Premier League quality players. It's the low free. When the teams come, you got no chance. You have no chance.
No.
And see what Nottingham Forest are doing right now. They decide, screw it. We'll just do what we need to do. And look where they are now.
I can't believe that we were in a relegation battle with them last season.
Yeah.
And where they are now, I mean, credit to Nuno. I think he's done a fantastic job. But you've got people at Burnley saying you need to get rid of Chris Wood. He's hit his 30s, selling to Newcastle. And now at 30, 33?
Yeah.
He's what, fourth or fifth on the Premier League top goal scorers. Like, what the heck is going on? But I don't know. To be fair, Mike, what's your thoughts on Sunderland and how? I mean, keeping hold of Isidore's perfect, and I think even if you don't go up this time round, another season in the Championship, you potentially piss the league next season.
Well, I guess it depends, because I look at the three teams coming back down. Southampton don't worry me as much as what they would have done last time. I'm not saying they're going to be like what we were when we decided to go back to back relegations because it was so much fun the first time. Ipswich are the ones I'm intrigued to see what they end up doing because this time there's expectation on their shoulders, whereas there wasn't. And I still stand by that. I think Ipswich massively overperformed by getting promoted last season, even though they deserved it. By the way, there's a difference between going up when you haven't. Yeah. It's like going up when if say Sheffield United go up this season. Yes, it's obviously deserved because they've done it, but at least Ipswich did it in a way that their performances deserved promotion over the course of the whole season.
When they were in league, when they
Yeah.
went to League One.
Leicester, fuck Nas. Leicester just entirely depends on who they appoint. If they get rid of, if they decide to give the rest of the championship a chance and keep Ruud van Nistelrooy, then you never know. But I don't see them doing that. I think they'll get rid of him.
It's interesting because we actually were set to appoint Ruud.
You were.
Yeah.
I remember.
Oh well,
Yeah.
no, I didn't know that.
He was set to be appointed, but then at the last minute, Manchester United got in touch and asked him to be part of Ten Hag's backroom staff at the time. So he said, "I can't miss a chance to go to Manchester United." So a blessing in disguise, really. And I think we've sort of escaped two bombshells. Yeah, dodged a bullet with that and the Morgan Whittaker deal because he's gone to Middlesbrough and done that all from Plymouth.
Yeah. I think my to answer your question on Sunderland, I think I'm not going to lie, it frustrates me that we're still not in the automatic conversation. And I know that sounds, and considering we finished 16th last year, I want to reiterate, and I've said this loads of times, our squad, I don't think it should be a surprise that we're in the playoffs. This many points, yes. I think that the fact we were in the top two conversation is a surprise. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't, because no one expected it. But I don't think that our squad was too good for me, even with the issues we had last season, to be 16th. And I stand by that. Well, basically, if you want to sum up last season why we finished so low, Michael Beale, that's it. That's all you got to say. Appointing that clown was what ended up doing our season in. So I said, with a competent head coach, we challenge for promotion. And I don't want to go on about size of clubs all the time, but a club of our size, historically in the Championship, with or without parachute payments, should be competing to go up to the Premier League. That's whether we do it. And yes, it's obviously a money exercise at the moment. Look,
you've been unlucky though, because the season you looked like you were gonna go up either via playoffs or in the top two. You literally had feck all up top. You know, Ross Stewart got injured. Everything just went to shit. And this time you've got some defensive issues, injuries. Sorry, and you know, there's a lot of talk, obviously, that could potentially be unsettling for Chris Rigg.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that will be as much of a factor the rest of this season. I think obviously you've had the issue with Tommy Watson being sold to Brighton recently, which I think
that were a good deal.
Oh yeah, I think so. There's definitely potential in the kid, and I'm not going to re-revision.
He's had 5 games or something like that, hasn't he? That's it.
Well, no, he's had 14 games, but 6 or 7 of them have been starts. And bearing in mind, Remain Mundle was ahead of him. Well, obviously, Remain Mundle got off injured yesterday. But Watson, for me, bear in mind, his contract ran out at the end of next season. By all intents and purposes, it sounded like him signing a new deal wasn't likely. So to get 10 million for someone who of that situation contract-wise and who's looked all right, but has only played 6, 7 starts, I think that's a superb deal. And this is the problem. If you don't have parachute money, the only way you're going to have a chance of competing with teams that do have parachute money is by selling well and reinvesting well. That's the only way you're going to have any hope sort of doing it. So if you look at this season, ultimately the main reason we're not in the automatic conversation is drawing at home to Plymouth, losing at home to Hull, throwing a 2-0 lead away at home to Coventry, drawn 1-1 at home to Preston, who I must say had some of the worst shithousing time-wasting tactics I've ever seen from any team in the game. And I know obviously Dan will disagree with me on this. I know he won't like Preston.
No,
I don't mind Preston. I still don't to a degree, but I lost quite a bit of respect for them after that. I'm not going to lie. So when we scored at the end, it was karma. But this is the point. It just frustrates me. All of these stupid late goals that we've been conceding, because I'm a believer that if you're good defensively, you win 9 times out of 10 with 1 goal or do anything like that. Even as Dan, I'm sure Dan in the moment would have absolutely loved this, was I wanted to literally sack football off altogether when Isidore missed 2 penalties at Turf Moor. And to me, I think that yous were good in the opening 25 minutes of that game. I thought second half we bossed it, personally.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%.
and obviously I'm not saying that to be disingenuous, as I'm sure you know I've done me that way. I just think that I think it's because we are where we are on merit. We are not, put it this way, I don't think Sheffield United are a better footballing side than us. But what they have got,
No.
I would even say, although Burnley, you could argue, are now with the addition of Edwards and things are clicking, I don't think you're miles ahead of us. Probably better,
No, definitely not.
but not miles better. But what you both have is what we don't have is the know-how to be able to in that situation. And I'm not going to put it down to experience because, quite frankly, I get tired of hearing that. You get experience through playing games. A lot of the younger players we have over 150 games under their belt. And we've got Chris Metham, who was touted by Sheffield United. We stole him literally seconds off Sheffield United. So to me, the way I look at it is I want you two to finish in the top two because I think if Sheffield United finish in the playoffs and we go into it on good form, I would be annoyed not to go up, if I'm honest.
I think Carl's also got one eye on the fact that Leeds playoff history doesn't really, it's not been great. So I think Carl obviously would snap your hand off a first or second, however it comes, because that's security. But I agree with what you said about Burnley as well, though, Mike, that game, with the penalties, I was sat there and I hate to be one of those fans of those sides that come off a game celebrating like they've won the World Cup. But that game felt like 3 points, and it was like a 3 points we needed.
And I'm not one that likes to say, "Oh, they're celebrating they won the World Cup." But what do you expect them to do? Going, well done, Trafford. You've saved 2 penalties in a critical game.
Especially when this is a keeper that's had massive critics.
Yeah, he has.
I mean, as you can imagine, I hated him in that moment, but that's not his problem. It's all when you have 2 penalties.
He's stuck by. Trafford's been stuck by. He's been protected by your players. Melier is being criticised by the players who see the frustrations. I'm like, where's that team bonded? You stick by your teammate, and we don't have that with him. But you guys do with Trafford.
The one thing as well is that Burnley and Sheffield United in particular do have is they have some outstanding goalkeepers, and I think Burnley have relied on Sheffield United. Sorry, after Burnley relied on Sheffield United, that makes no fucking sense. Burnley have relied on Trafford less than I feel Sheffield United have relied on Cooper because I think Burnley's strength is that Trafford probably hasn't had when he has had to do something, he does it really well. But I wouldn't be surprised if he hasn't had as much to do because of how good you've been defensively. Whereas I've seen games where Cooper has been the difference between Sheffield United getting 3 points and coming away with 1 or 1-0 even. And I guess my frustration is because I look at our performances against all of the teams above us. Leeds at home was probably the only game where I felt we were not outplayed, but we were like, oh shit, we're under the cosh here. These are causing us problems. And look, a mental error at the end by Melier obviously is what got us a point. You look at Leeds away. I thought we were excellent for 75 minutes, even without. And yes, okay, we didn't have much of the ball, but what fans don't understand is you don't have to dominate games to play well. You can play well in a different manner. And I thought we restricted Leeds next to nothing, and so it was gutting to lose that at the end, by the way. But I felt Leeds deserved to win at our place, so it's a bit of roles reversed. I think obviously if you look at against Burnley, for example, I know obviously you sold quite a lot of players in the build up to the game at the Stadium of Light, but you still had a lot of players that day that for me were capable of winning a game. And I know the disruption wouldn't have helped, but we should have won 2-3-0. And I couldn't believe I was saying that at the time because I was like, well, these guys just came down from the Prem and scored 9 goals in their first 2 games. But obviously I know the context around the players you sold. The game at Turf Moor, as I've said, opening 25 minutes, you bossed us. I felt second half our midfield won the battle, and we started. And I originally thought, oh, a draw is pretty good there. But then you look at the game, and I thought, fuck, we had a lot of good chances second half that yet again didn't take. And then Sheffield United, the game out of all of them that pissed me off the most was losing away at Sheffield United, because I looked at it because I'm thinking that is classic Wilder ball Sheffield United. They get outplayed for about half of the game, have next to nothing, and then end up squeaking a 1-0 win out of it. And I'm like, if that was us, everyone would be saying that's not sustainable. But there you go. And then Sheffield, I don't know. Well, I know Carl definitely watched the Sheffield United home game on New Year's Day because he was there. But I don't know whether you watched it on New Year's Day when we played Sheffield United home. And even then, we didn't have as much of the ball. But I felt we should have won by more than what we did. I felt we had Sheffield United might have had more half chances. We missed some sitters that night. We missed some and so look, I don't usually like blowing up own trumpets here because of fear of jinxing something. But we haven't disgraced ourselves against anyone that we've played. The only game we've really probably questioned ourselves in terms of application was Coventry away, funnily enough. So yeah. Quickly, what Doug said, by the way, Dad. I hope your daughter had a good birthday. I forgot to mention that. Yeah,
Yes.
hopefully.
Yeah, no, she's had a cracking party today. Her birthday's on Tuesday, but we thought do it now.
She's not going to, I'm sure, extend her birthday for a few days.
Yeah.
Oh, she's wrapping it up. Like she's off for 2 weeks now anyway for Easter holidays, so
No, well,
she's already. I said even school will give you a birthday present.
I don't blame her being happy about leaving school. I hated it. But here's one I'll ask you then. What do you think about our playoff chances if you two were the top two at the end of the season?
I think.
By the way, I'm not expecting you to blow smoke up my arses. If you think
No,
that Sheffield United will go up or whoever else, then feel free to be honest. I'm just curious to know what you think. Because I think if Sheffield United are there and they're the ones that miss out, that gives us the best chance to win it.
I think
personally.
deeply because the way you batted Sheffield United, despite you lost to them at their ground, I think you still have a good chance against them because you don't have to play well against them. But if you take your chances, I think you have a more better chance they do because Sheffield United's record in the playoff has been quite woeful as well. Along with us, their record's been woeful, especially when they was in League One a few seasons ago, and then when they missed out. I think it was against you guys in 2009.
Yeah.
Final. Their record is quite poor, Michael, in the playoff final.
I'd probably say that the pressure is on you with being in fourth. I think there'll be a slight dejection for whoever's in third. If it is Sheffield United, I think they'll feel dejected after the season they've had. But then, I don't know, it might spur them on that they've only got to try and push now. You said not to blow smoke up your arse. I have a sneaky feeling that it's going to be one of the teams in either fifth or sixth that if they come into form, I don't think Coventry have enough. If it was based on the teams that are in there now, I'd say this is Sunderland's playoffs to lose. But say a team like Bristol City find their feet again, and do you know what? There's part of me that wouldn't mind someone like Bristol City doing it, especially after the year Liam Manning's had.
Yeah.
I mean,
the
crap he's had to deal with, losing your own child. I couldn't ever think of ever going through something like
that. No.
But then what an achievement with a squad that again has probably massively overachieved this season, and even if they finish just outside, we'll accept it. But I think it is based on the teams in there now. It is Sunderland's to lose.
Yeah, I can see that idea. I just think if Burnley finish in there, I think Burnley win it because I think they have, even if there's a dejection of finishing third, Scott Parker has the experience of getting promoted. He's done it twice in this league. He's won the playoffs in this league before. I think Burnley win the playoffs probably. I think it's a close tie between Burnley and Sunderland. I would fancy Sunderland to get to the final against Burnley. Well, unless we play Coventry, but if it was Burnley Sunderland final, I wouldn't be surprised if Sunderland won, but I would expect Scott Parker to have enough. I think if Leeds finish in there, I know Carl's going to say Leeds record playoffs and the pressure, blah blah blah, but I just can't get over how good a lot of their squad is, and I think that would be and especially on a big pitch at Wembley, I think Leeds would stretch us quite a bit. And I just feel for me that Leeds and Burnley are the two that, out of the three, for me, deserve it more in terms of automatics. But yeah, I think I would probably, the only thing I disagree with Dan is I can see where you're coming from and saying it's our playoffs to lose. If it was Sheffield United who miss out, I think for me the pressure would still be on Sheffield United because they're the team that's been in that pack all season for automatics.
Yeah, I think I was just going off the fact that I think they'll feel a little bit dejected at the fact they've missed out on top two, where everyone in the playoff hunt will already be like, well, we know we're in here, we're only a couple of games away, let's go for it. Where they'll be like, we've been in that top two the majority of the season.
Yeah.
Now look at what's happened.
It's a psychology thing, isn't it? They're both going to be happier to be there, aren't they? Especially if Bristol City get in there, for example, they're going to be like, Ashton Gate will be absolutely bouncing for that. It's a shame, man, he's not still on here, but that would be rocking in that for the first leg. So I think I have a good feeling, and I don't say this lightly at all because I don't usually be optimistic. I think if Sunderland go into the playoffs on good form with a bit of momentum, even if we play crap, like you look at yesterday, West Brom battered us for a lot of the game, but we showed the fight necessary to come out of that with a win. I think if we go into the playoffs on good form, or at least decent, or at least respectable form, particularly if Sheffield United miss out, I think we win it personally.
Yeah.
And that's only the second time I've ever said Sunderland will win the playoffs. The first time I said it was the year we went up in League One. I said 2 months beforehand, with Lord Voldemort Alex Neil at the helm, that funny how going to Stoke worked out for your
I was
career.
going to say John Joe Shelby's out for the season, so
And yeah, that'd be quite funny. Yeah, I was glad he didn't play against us because I know exactly what the narrative would have been. Well, hopefully we don't play each other again. Either of you again this season, and we get the Wembley. That means we're playing Sheffield United or someone else. But no, the 2 months before we got up from League One, I said we get in the playoffs, we're winning them. And I've got that feeling if we go in the playoffs on good form, and if you two aren't in the playoffs, I think we win them. Personally, whether that's misplaced, time will tell if that's misplaced or not. I don't know.
Time will tell. Dan, thank you for joining us.
No, nice chatting.
Are you going to be?
no, appreciate
What are
it.
you doing on the last day of the season? Are you going to the last game of the season?
I don't know what's happening yet. More than likely. My channel's sort of been on a back burner for about 6-7 months.
Really?
So it doesn't help when StreamYard starts trying to overcharge you for crap. So
I know, and a lot of myself and Doug, I'm not. Well, Doug's using my subscription to do his content now, and I said to him, "Do what you need to do." As I said, I think on the Eva Mux. So yeah, I'm not surprised anyway. So,
but
like,
I'm looking around for stuff. But if not, I will try and do something for the final day. Definitely.
yeah, no, you might as well do. And listen, we'll try and get you on because we want to do the end of season review on it
Yeah.
on the channel. So that's the plan I'm going to do. But like I said, I will probably message you after the last game of the season and see where we both are with everything. But as I said, look, I'd rather you guys get.
I'll be in my fourth pub, fourth
Yeah,
and fifth
I know
pub.
you're your both.
This is a fart.
I
Well,
know.
let's just hope you're both celebrating automatic promotion, and I'm celebrating winning the playoffs on May the 24th. Then let's
I
see what
need to
happens.
be proper hungover if we win, if we get promoted. I need to be proper hungover. So
Listen, I'm still reeling over the heartache of that final day we did on my channel call.
I
That was
know,
gut
I
wrenching.
know, I know, I know, I know, I know.
Michael, I did a final day, right, of obviously Leeds were you away at Brentford?
Yeah,
Yeah, and you had you had the Saudi Arabia lot at home, didn't you?
Yeah, and Carl's jumping around celebrating and lapping it up, and my head was in my hands. Mrs. had gone out, so I had nobody to flame in, like support me, nothing. The only answers I could find were in the shape of a tin in the fridge. So it was hard to take, but I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it for anything because you look back and you think, yeah, relegation, but look at what's come of it since.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I think you guys come a lot more better. Yeah, you had company for 2 seasons, and then actually, was it worth it after you go down? Listen, you didn't deserve to go down. We both thought you didn't deserve to go down on the last day. It was hard. It was really hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I think it'd be amazing if both of our teams went up, and that will be the like give you guys back the favor. So
I bet you probably be hoping for a favour from them on Easter Monday.
Easter
Depending on
Monday
what.
is that insurance policy. It's that insurance policy match. You have to beat Sheffield United.
Oh, our record against Sheffield United is something else.
I know.
I'm
It
calling
is.
it now. I think you beat them. It's the type of game Scott Parker wins.
Like I say, we are unbeaten at home all season. I've just given it kiss of death now. We're unbeaten at home all season. We're currently 27 games unbeaten in all competitions. It's just I'm enjoying the ride that we're on, and I think a lot of Burnley fans still mutter that Scott Parker's not enough. And the thing I like about him is that he's got defensive know-how of Sean Dyche, but an attacking sort of version of Company. In a way, the way we try and pass it about, a bit tiki-taka, but defensively solid like a Dyche team would be. But people need to remember how far we've come from, being a staple in the Championship to achieving European football to, we've been spoiled as a shitty little town club, and
Yeah.
we can't forget that. We can't forget what a ride we've had, and I think it's so easy for fans to do that. So whether it's the playoffs first or second, what will be will be. Que sera, sera, and all that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah. Do you know, we've been on nearly 3 hours anyway, but I'm going to finish off. It's coming to 11 o'clock. I'm going to need something to eat at this time. I'll find
Running on
something.
autopilot at this point.
I know. I'm gonna have a long line tomorrow. That's my plan. So I'm gonna have a long line tomorrow. But Dan, thank you very much as always for jumping on
Appreciate
for
it.
a few minutes. I know you've been busy. Michael, thank you very much as always.
Thanks
I
for
don't
having
know
me.
if I'll be doing the show next Sunday because Michael, you're away. And depending what Annie does, I'll see if Annie's
If Bristol City do crap, basically, or not.
yeah, I know. Or if not, I am back on next Saturday to do the Saturday show, but it's next Sunday is debatable because, as I said, I might want to take I'm taking the show. I'm taking time off as I'm going back to Jerusalem for Easter weekend, the lead up to Easter weekend. So I'm just gonna see how things pan out. But you know what? It's been worth it. And as I say, thank you to everyone for watching, for Doug, to Ant as well for messaging, even though he's been bloody mocking me and stuff, and to Herbert as well. But thank you for everyone watching. But yes, we'll be back on the same. Well, on the Saturday show, we'll be back on at 11 o'clock. I will announce something lead up to the weekend next Sunday if we're on again to do the championship movie before we wrap up for the Easter break. But everyone, have a good week, and we'll take it for now. Thank you very much. Goodbye.